a bunch of other stuff, and we're talking about informed consent, and the left was all for informed consent. Taking
What?
your condom
Where are
off,
you going with this?
that taking your condom off while you're having sex is akin to rape. Because the woman did not know. Well, how's the guy supposed to know that she's not okay with that, right? How's the guy supposed to know?
Well,
Because
because they
you
did
just
that
kind
would
of make assumptions that you're not going to do
that would be
certain things.
damaging. That's dangerous in an obvious reason way. You know, like that's like I know you apparently love making these like really false like um equations between these things.
They're not
I
false
find it really
equivalencies.
odd.
I'm not
They are.
equivalating them.
They are. They are. So, if I
Wait a
can,
minute, just let Nita go and then let me
yeah,
go.
I'm
for
not
sure. I'll
equivalating
go
them. They're
after,
not
I'll go
false
after Baham.
equivalencies.
I mean, it just doesn't seem like the logic tracks when you're saying a lot of these things.
It
Like
does.
if you're talking about like causing like what do you think is gonna like in terms of like you related STD and like pregnancy now to having sex with a trans person without your knowledge. That just seems so crazy to me that you would say that.
If
Like
he's talking about
how
informed
think that
Wait,
consent,
but
When
I
you
think
put
it's
it
just
that
making an
way,
argument.
okay,
I
but,
think
but
it's,
you're talking about when we're talking about STDs and like the risk of pregnancy, we're talking about things that could like literally like change your entire life, like physically. They're physically dangerous. They could cause you like harm. What harm is there with having sex with a trans person?
is that a
You were
question?
obviously
Is
attracted
that
to them.
rhetorical? Wait,
You
wait.
were
Was that a
obviously
rhetorical
attracted to
question?
them.
Oh, that was rhetorical. Okay, never mind. I thought you were asking a question
yeah,
and you wanted
I
to
think
answer.
that
If that
I
was a
think that
rhetorical
But
question.
I feel like
say
we can't just say something is crazy. Like they have to make an actual argument. I do think that like the comparison to STDs is bad because we're talking about like one is actually it's literally a crime. It's literally criminal to do so, and you're
So it's rape by deception.
no, it's not. There's not.
Yes, it is.
No,
Well, depending
yes,
on the
rape by
country-
wait a
deception is
minute,
illegal.
No, wait a minute, because I'm gonna get into that. Why it's everyone
Yo.
in this room agrees it's not a crime.
Wait, I don't. Okay. Like,
Wait a minute. Just wait a minute. You already went.
Let him
You
go.
spoke first. Okay.
Yeah, I did. I would go again. Damn it.
Okay. So so you're dealing with like actual like giving someone illnesses. I think that I don't think that's a fair comparison. I think a better comparison was what I was bringing up earlier. If you're talking to a person who's like a girl's like super religious, she super cares about her body, and you have like a body count of 400, which is like on the high end, but like people really exist that have body counts that high, and they feel like it will probably be they could probably believe deep down like reasonably so. If I tell this girl I've slept with 400 people, she's probably gonna feel a little bit disgusted by me and not want to sleep with me. But I wouldn't say that she has some legal moral compulsion to tell her that, or he should go to jail. Like that just becomes down to like a social cultural preference.
Okay, so
Even though I would think it would be bad not to.
So for one, I was using it as an example. I was using it as a comparison.
Sure, but
I
move on
believe,
to the other
I believe even when I was stating this, that I stated that I believed that STDs were much, 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 much worse. Right?
Yeah, but
I
you're
believe
treating it as
those
a-
words.
being
Wait,
worse.
stop,
You
stop,
did the
stop,
comparison.
stop. I already agreed that one situation was much, much worse than the other. But I was using it as an example to show kind of like where my thought process was going and the likeness to it that we have in society. Right? So I'm able to pull examples from society while they're not one-to-ones. Right, but it gives the ability of you to be able to track my logic better. Now,
it doesn't,
with
though.
this
It's
being
fucking
stated,
stupid.
oh
Okay,
my
no, I
gosh,
didn't-
now
no, I
with this,
didn't-
now
like,
no,
The
no,
whole
stop,
panel can't be about comparing
stop.
it to rape. I meant to compare it to STDs. Just move on to a different comparison.
Yes.
He
I'm not,
doesn't
I
understand.
did, I fucking did, and you guys
no,
still
you
yelled
didn't.
about it.
Because you're choosing objective problems. Like it's not
Oh
even
my
like.
gosh.
Okay, hold on. All right, let me.
Yeah, you're not doing like metaphorical.
Yeah, like so.
These
Here,
things
Yeah,
are
but maybe
objective
let's back
problems.
up.
it's
But y'all
okay.
won't let
Let's
anybody else
let me
talk.
let's.
Okay, we're gonna go back into it. We shouldn't engage with this.
No, this is actually really easy to fix. This is such an easy fix.
It's not
Okay,
a fix.
it's
Fix it.
it's not about what's like. It's not worse. It's not the problem that it's worse. The problem is that you're choosing things that are objectively bad and saying that this needs to be consent. So like
This
it could
is
be something
objectively
that's
bad as well.
no, no,
Yes.
chill. 1 second. What I'm trying to say here is that even if it was something as like simple as like a person doesn't want to have sex with someone with green genitals, okay, and it turns out you had green genitals the whole time, right? Like that is an objective thing, right? Like green, like that's like a how do I put it?
That's not even close to the same.
I think you're
Can I
right.
ask
I don't think we're not really
That's not even
Let's
close to the
move
same.
past this. Let's pad this. Doobie, take this. And then I
Okay,
go.
I have a couple
And
things to say.
Blackoid.
So,
And Corey.
Speaking of green genitals,
so on, so I feel like people tend to overestimate how many people in the United States would be okay with like homosexuality, like having sex with another man, right? So on the high end, the percent of people of men in the United States who are like homosexuals or bisexual is like 5%. So 95% of the men that you're dealing with are not interested in fucking other men, right? They're just not. So,
Is that
and some of
important?
those gay men, and some of those gay men are not going to be interested in fucking trans women, right? So, like, so the likelihood that the person that these people are engaging with, actually not being okay with having sex with a male is extremely high, right? So that's number one. Number two, I'm wondering, like, if there were like a gay man, right, a gay male who was cross-dressing but wasn't a woman, right? Didn't identify as a woman, but was just cross-dressing, and tricked a straight man into having sex with him through that cross-dressing, right? Do you guys think that would be an issue at all, or is it just totally
Hey,
okay to lie to
Doobie, he's
people?
Crying game.
He's asking all the questions I was going to ask.
Is it,
Another
or is it just
historical
okay?
reference.
Or is it okay to just lie to people to fuck them? Right?
We
'Cause
do-
that's
I mean, you
that's what
believe
would be
that.
happening there,
You just
right?
think- there's like I'm saying, there's no consistency on what you care about. Like there are things that you would say.
Wait,
if
he just
somebody
asked you a
lied
question.
about
Are
it.
you not going to
care
answer?
about?
I'm
Are you going to
answering.
skip this
So
question?
a gay male cross-dresses, pretends to be a woman, is not a woman, right? And then convinces a straight man to sleep with him. Is that okay? Is that wrong to do?
Yeah, he's asking y'all for a yes or no answer. Just to be clear.
And quickly,
If
thank
you
you
could-
Wick, for the raid. I just wanted to say that. But go ahead. Continue, Jishu.
Yeah, it's bad. But I don't
Bam.
think I don't think he has a moral compulsion. I don't think they have a moral compulsion. That's the difference.
So it's bad, but there's no what? Hold
yeah,
on.
like there's some.
What do you mean
something
by
can
it's
be
bad?
I'm saying that like I don't think people should do it, but I don't think they have a moral compulsion.
would
to
you
do so.
consider that a form of rape?
No.
Well, I mean, if you were attracted to the person and you wanted to fuck that person in the way that you fucked them, like it kind of just seems confusing to me where the problem is.
Because if I did so, I would have to accept 100 other things. that are
Okay,
considered
so
rape.
Nina, do you think it'd be okay for me to meet a woman somewhere, tell her, hey,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I'm actually a billionaire, and you know that fucking Bugatti outside is mine, right? And I'm worth all this money. And if you hang out with me, you know, you're gonna be my sugar baby or whatever the fuck, right? So I fuck her in the restroom of the restaurant, but none of that show's mine.
Okay.
I'm not a billionaire. I'm actually the janitor, and I'm on my break. Like, do you think that would be okay to do, Nina?
I think morally that would probably be not great, but I don't think that's akin to like rape or something like that.
Yeah,
That
like
seems
like
crazy
we're
to
saying,
me.
like should you go to jail
So
for that?
do you guys just think that
No.
rape by deception just isn't a thing, that it's not something that should be taken
Okay, but
into
if you were so
consideration?
attracted to that person's physical characteristics, and we're talking about sexuality, that's not this. Like, money is not a sexuality here. Like, we're talking about like what you're attracted to. If you're attracted to a trans woman that like was a biological male, then like you were still attracted to her. Like,
Okay,
I don't see the
attraction-
problem
That
is.
is-
You know what I mean?
Attraction aside, right? Say that you
Well, that's
are.
why the reason why you did it. It's not like they made you do it.
Can you, please? Thank you.
I'm
Attraction
done
aside.
talking.
Attraction aside. Let's put attraction aside. Let's say that you have extreme moral convictions of homosexuality, like many Abrahamic religions do. There's moral convictions against homosexuality, right? And you're having sex with who you deem to be a woman, right? And it turns out that this person is not a woman. And you feel extremely convicted. Do you think that would be wrong? Do you think that would be wrong for someone to give off the impression that they have certain genitals that they don't, and then it only gets figured out while having sexual intercourse?
So
Do
is
you
the
think that's wrong?
default that we assume everyone's like that, or what?
We assume I mean, what I'm stating is that the large majority is considering the Doobie statistics.
I mean, if
on
you
the
were
high
so
side,
affected
on the high
about,
side,
like,
on the
trans
high side,
people,
it's
why
on the
wouldn't
high
you-
side. On the high side, it's 5%. So you're talking about 95% of men. So yeah, I think it's pretty fair to assume that 95% of men is okay. So we're gonna make the rule based off the majority, not the minority.
95% of men are Christians?
No, 95% of men.
No, but you
don't
started
want
this with a
to have
conversation about your
homosexual sex.
religious beliefs.
Okay, what percentage of those people might be Christian regarding
You're the one
regarding
brought
the
it up.
statistics
Well,
Okay,
actually, you
so
said
it's over-
Abrahamic, which is even bigger, right?
Yeah,
So
Abrahamic
you-
religion. So that's Christian, Muslim, and Jewish. I would go to say that's at least 70% of that. So we'll take 70% of 95, right?
No, dude,
And
I-
that's
I
still
think
the
they-
majority.
Okay,
No,
if they
that's
brought it up,
ridiculous.
if they asked us explicitly, if they said like, "Hey, my religion is really important to me," are you trans? And then
I'm
that
not
person
gonna
said-
ask
and
that.
then-
Why would
but
you
yeah,
ask
yeah,
that?
But I'm saying that I think
Well,
that,
if you care
that's a
about
big
it-
distinction. I'm not saying I don't think it's a reasonable question to ask either. But I'm saying that like I think that's the distinction that makes it like where someone's like
Right.
morally compelled to do so. That if they didn't do so, now
We
it
do
becomes
have-
an issue where it may be criminal.
We do have
So
to
hold
move
on,
on. We
wait.
do have to move on.
I
We have
agree
to
with
I
move
that.
on.
want,
I think-
I want Giga Chad to answer the question that Doobie laid on
Okay.
the
So I'm
floor.
gonna let you very quickly do that, but then I got to go to Aiko, Lactoid, and Corey, who are waiting kindly because they're not animals like the rest of you guys.
All
Go
right,
ahead.
and the question was,
Uh.
so like, look, if there's something that makes sex not consensual, then that's a problem, right? So there has to be communication, and if it's not consensual sex or someone's tricked into having sex, then yeah, it's rape, right? Like that's fine. Like I can
You
I
do
can
agree
totally-
that it's rape by deception?
I can see it being rape, but the fact of the matter is that all sexual encounters and the sex acts that occur during those encounters and all of that stuff needs to be thoroughly communicated, right? Like at the end of the day,
Oh, I
you need to
thought
make
you
sure that everything that's happening is kosher and cool and whatever, right? Like I get that part. The thing that I'm having an enormous problem with, like, okay,
Hold on,
let's
wait.
use the
wait.
Christian thing.
You didn't
Let's use
answer the question
Christian
though. I want to
thing.
hear all
Wait,
your
wait,
explanation.
let me.
We specifically wanted you to answer the question.
Okay.
What Doobie laid out, do you agree that
So
that's
you want me to
rape
get?
by?
So you want me to
Do
give
you agree
you?
that that's rape by deception? That's all I want to know. You can explain afterwards. We just want to know if your answer is yes or no. You didn't give us an answer yet, and now you're thinking because I'm trying to make
But
you
it's
give us an answer.
Oh, I think-
it's not a yes or no question, right? Because like
It
It is a yes or no question.
no, it's not because like there's a lot of like so it's a created scenario,
If you think it is or not.
and
That's the
there's
question.
well, yeah,
Just
but like,
answer the damn question.
but it's not
please.
universally yes or no. That's the point, right?
Well, it's a yes. It could be a yes
Oh,
or no,
God.
and. But
So-
Okay,
it's
so I feel
Yeah,
like
you
it's
can
pretty
explain.
straightforward. So
Yeah,
gay male,
wait,
gay male
like,
cross-dressing,
literally-
gay male cross-dressing, pretending to be a woman, not actually a woman, doesn't identify as a woman, tricks a straight man into believing that he's a woman and fucking him. You're struggling with whether or not that's a problem.
No, I think that's a problem.
There you
I
go.
You
agree
think it's
that
rape
it's
by
a
deception.
problem, but like we're using there's a difference between stating that something's a problem because yes, obviously it's a problem, but like the legal definition of rape is something very, very different from like expressing, oh, this is a general problem. You want me to like kind of marry myself to a hill?
Okay.
And it's like,
Okay, well, can I ask a quick? I'm sorry, really quickly. So if I had a twin, right, and
Okay.
my twin brother was
God,
married,
no.
and I fucked his wife, and she was fully into it, thinking that I was him, and I just
Because she
didn't
was
correct her.
attracted to you.
Yeah, and I just didn't correct her. Would that be rape?
Well, yeah, somebody that
She was
she
attracted, Nina.
knows.
She was
No,
attracted.
that's not to do with the attraction. It's just somebody that she knows. Like
She
if
saw
somebody
the
like,
So
if,
it's rape. So it's rape because she thought I was something that I wasn't.
it's
Yeah.
okay.
what? No, because you're pretending to be somebody that she knows, and you have a
If
intimate
you-
knowledge
What
of
if
what
what if he's not? What if he just walks in the house
I
and
feel
she's
so
like,
bad
"Hey,
looking
let's
at
fuck,"
that.
and then they start. So let's imagine that there is no deception. The twin walks into the house. He thinks it's a possibility that she's gonna think I'm my brother. He doesn't do anything to embellish it, but he walks in. She thinks, "Oh, that's my husband," and they have sex. She's attracted to him because she's attracted to his physical appearance.
Yeah,
Would you say
no,
that that's rape
well,
by deception?
that's not his. I don't think that she's probably. I mean, I assume there's an element of being attracted to his physical appearance because it is her husband, but I don't think that is the main reason why
No,
she's
it's her-
interested in
it's her
having
brother.
sex with him.
If
Like,
you-
like having. Well, then why doesn't she want to fuck his twin brother
Okay,
all the time?
Okay, sorry, we got to move on. We got to move
If
on.
you intentionally, okay,
Well,
I'm gonna answer this
just let
question.
Iko
I
go,
got it.
yeah.
I got it.
Yes,
I
go
got
Oh
it.
my god! Answer
Alright, I
the
have it.
question in like 2 seconds, and we got to move
Okay.
on.
If you intentionally trick someone into having sex with you, that is rape. If you intentionally do that, if that is what's
Yes.
going on, then yes, that's rape. But it's
Okay.
that's the
Okay,
thing.
we'll get back to it. Aiko, Lactoid, Corey.
You're muted, I believe.
Beautiful, Aiko. Beautiful.
Wonderful,
Sorry.
wonderfully stated.
Yeah, I just wanted to react to something Sprout said earlier because he was reacting to the scenario, and then he said, "If you want a safe, loving relationship, then this is what you should do." But I think it's pretty obvious from the context of the video, right? That she assuming, I mean, obviously we know it's all
Don't be
fake,
so
but let's
judgmental,
assuming that
Aiko.
it's real, right? I don't think she was looking for a loving relationship with her DoorDash driver, right?
Okay,
Like,
do you
that
want a
was not
safe
the goal.
relationship?
Yeah, but you
You
said
can't
a
just argue
safe,
what's
loving
good.
relationship. I don't think she was looking for a
You're saying what would
relationship.
be
Okay,
better.
let me
She was looking
rephrase.
for-
Safe and or loving. Is that better?
Sure, but neither one
Okay.
of those is a it's
not
not
the
a
conversation we're
relationship in
having.
either context in this case. But the
It is a
the reason why I
relationship.
bring it up, well, it's not. No, I mean it's a relationship
Wait.
that ends in 20 minutes.
Well, relationship and boyfriend girlfriend are two different things, right? It's a relationship.
Wait, but Sprout's point is just asking what would be better. That's not the conversation. What would be ideal? We're just asking what is the
Right,
like-
but the reason I'm bringing it up
Yeah.
is because I think you can make a distinction between a one night stand like this, or not even a one night stand, like a one moment stand, and an established relationship. Because if you are looking for a safe, loving relationship, you're going to have a different set of obligations than if you're just like starting the beginning of a stereotypical point.
I think
So
it's
what if-
much. I think there's a higher risk of violence in a one night stand than there
We all
is in an
agree with that.
established relationship.
But that's
Yeah,
the
I
fuck?
think-
You keep arguing that it's not ideal. We
No.
know it's
So
not
what?
ideal.
So
We know
what?
it's
So
not
what? So
You're
what?
making
What
up
I'm stating.
statistics again?
It would be
So
better
what?
to
What
know,
I'm
yes.
stating. What?
You're making up
Okay.
statistics again. Like you've
I'm
never
not
heard of
making
abusive
up
relationships. Like,
statistics.
what
There's
the
a
fuck are you
higher
talking about?
chance of violence at a one night stand. In regards to this specific point,
Oh,
there's
it
a
is
higher
specific
chance.
point.
But
Oh,
nobody's
okay.
disagreeing with that.
Yeah, in regards to this debate, the one we're in. Now that we got past that, the simple
higher
idea,
ch-
the simple idea, I think there's a higher chance of violence, and it would be better off for both people to do this. I also think that deceiving someone into having sex, while knowing that you're giving off the impression of something else and not making it fully known, right? Then I would say that yes, it's deception. You're deceiving the person into having sex. If you weren't deceiving the person to having sex, I don't see what the issue is about laying it out there.
The equivalent of like
Okay,
someone saying they're
Aiko,
Christian.
one second. Aiko, you can respond to that. Then we got to go back to it in Corey.
Yeah. So the second thing I wanted to just say was that establishing the state of mind is what's critical here, right? Because if you can establish that deception was the goal, then yeah, I do think it becomes like a more serious infraction, right? Than if it was wasn't necessarily the goal, but she did it anyway. But she did it for some
Clarifying
reason.
Deception
question.
doesn't have to be the goal.
Yeah. Question: are you saying that there's severity of rape, and you're saying that if a person doesn't have intentions, it's still rape, but it's less rape? Or
Yeah,
are you
we
saying
make
that this is
assumptions
no
in these
longer rape
choices
by
all the
deception?
time, and
No,
sometimes
but-
those
but- hold on,
assumptions
wait.
align with what the other person was thinking, and sometimes they don't.
I know, but I don't think we understand what you're saying right now. So I'm only asking you a question to clarify. When you say that intention raises the severity, we understand
Right.
that part. But what we don't understand is, are you saying that without intent is not rape by deception? Are you saying it's still rape
Yes.
by deception? It's just
Yes.
worse. Which
Yes, if somebody happens to think you're Kevin Costner and never even mentioned it, right? And they slept with you because of that, you're clearly not deceiving them by not telling them you're not Kevin Costner, right? Because you have to intend it. You have to intend that to be the case.
do you think
can't
the
accidentally
ability
deceive
to be
somebody.
tricked? Do you think the ability to think that somebody is Kevin Costner is akin to the ability to think a trans woman is female? Do you think those are within the same realm? Because the difference in severity would be where me or Sprout or somebody would argue that.
Well,
obviously
again, we're
those
talking about
things-
differences in
It's a lot
severity, right?
more-
Not differences in categorization.
I'm
Like in
saying
both
the
cases, that
difference in
person. Yeah, I think that if you're meeting somebody for the first time, I said this at the very beginning in the introduction to the topic, was that if it doesn't really matter if you think that person's like standards are something that you agree or disagree with. Full disclosure is something you have a moral obligation to do, but you also have to understand. You also have to have some level of. You have to be able to prove intent. especially if you're going to then go and say, is this criminal? You have to be able to establish intent. Like,
Why is
Corey
I have
intent
a question
necessary?
for
Is the person
iCal
that we
since
wanna ask-
wait, hold on. I'm gonna ask iCal something real quick. Would you say that this scenario is more analogous to, say, someone like fronting that they're a Christian and then someone feeling comfortable having sex with a Christian versus someone else than it would be for, like, say, fronting that they do or do not have an STD, something along those lines? Like, would you say that the problems are a little bit more cultural in nature?
Sure, yeah, but I don't think like if you're presenting yourself as a Christian and you're not a Christian, that's not criminal, right? That's not something that you would be able to pursue as in a court of law if there's not
Some court of laws.
the thing with an
absolutely,
STD. There's which one?
I think in Europe there was someone who, it's like convincing someone to have sex with you on false pretenses is actually considered rape in certain. I don't remember which country this was.
Yeah,
That
Are you
case
talking
is
about
more
Sweden, right?
complicated. No, he's talking about the Europe case. That case is more complicated. They were trying to get this guy for forced rape, and he settled down to rape by deception. So it's not the same. It was a settling there. It wasn't like primarily the prosecutor was trying to get him for rape by deception.
Well,
But
I'm just
that
saying,
case
like,
was a
Okay,
person.
well, I mean, that seems about more along analogous to what we're talking
It
about
is.
than this idea of like STDs and whatever else.
So I gotta move on. Lactoid and then Corey.
Yeah, so there's a couple things I wanted to say. I think we're all kind of saying the same thing a little bit, but dancing around kind of what we're meaning. Two examples I can think of, legal examples of when rape by deception has been invoked, at least attempted to be invoked. First one, a guy snuck into a house and started having sex with a woman. She initially thought it was her boyfriend and was getting into it. And then when the light from the window hit his face a particular way, she saw that it wasn't him, freaked out, and then called the police and kicked him out. The second case, and this is legitimately true, I didn't think it was true, but it is true, was a doctor who was a fake doctor who was bringing women to his clinic, convincing them that in order to cure them of an incurable disease, he had to have sex with them. And then he would have sex with them, and you basically use that to get, was there some naivety, I guess, on the people who had sex with them anyway, for sure. But he earnestly, or not earnestly, he pretty deliberately misrepresented his credentials, and I guess did a good job at doing so. What all of this kind of says to me, along with the STD example, along with the twin example, along with the person trying to look like Kevin Costner, is I think intent is important when we're morally condemning the person doing it, but then also what kind of expectations are you trying to set for the encounter, right? That's the question. Are you setting the expectation that this person would believe you are a cis woman? Are you setting the expectation that this person would believe that you are Kevin Costner? Are you setting the expectation that XYZ, whatever you want to throw into? And if you're doing that, right, if you're setting the expectation, whether intentionally or whether all of your actions could be like construed, I guess, as intentionally, setting up a situation to where the person you're going to engage with genuinely believes this is the case, and you know that they would, there's a significant likelihood that they would not engage in a sexual encounter with you had they known the truth. I think that, rape by deception, it's as close as you can possibly get. The whole point of trying to pass is to look like a cis woman, right? That's the point of it. And it's reasonable to believe that a lot of people, especially in the video that we saw, could perceive that person as being a cis woman. And it's also reasonable to know that a lot of people have a very deep, whether it be religious or moral conviction, against having sex with who they believe is not a cis woman, right? And it's all X, Y, you can just follow the line. Is it reasonable? Yes, 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 yes. And so is what this person did morally reprehensible? I just don't see how you could say no.
But how would you extend that like moral conviction to literally anything else?
I think
again, like the example about being a Christian, the example about like having a high body count.
In my intro, I began by saying, like, let's say you go to a Bernie Sanders convention and you're a major Trump supporter, but you want to get some, loose pussy or whatever. So you wear like a Bernie Sanders hat and a Bernie Sanders shirt, and you're like, chant with it. You never explicitly say that you voted for Bernie Sanders, but you're really getting into it. And some woman who's like a super fan of Bernie Sanders, like, believes you're just as much into it and sleeps with you. What was the intent of your actions there? What were you trying to trick people into thinking you were in order to get into their pants, right?
Well, by
Like, we're
your
looking at this
logic of
honestly.
what the metaphor that you're making, though, you're implying that it was a trick. Like, That's
Yes.
not what it is when it comes to like trans people. They're not trying to trick people.
No,
Then why
they're
not
trying
openly
You
to
have
state
a
it?
reasonable
pass-
expectation. So you could say like, well, by wearing a Bernie Sanders hat, and
Why
by
don't
wearing a Bernie
I'm sure
Sanders
plenty
shirt,
of trans people do openly state it.
right? But what the point I'm trying to
They're
make
doing
is
the
that
right thing.
what you could say is again like the whole point of passing is to
Do you
look
think
like a
that you
cis
should
woman.
have to like disclose to somebody if you're like barren?
I think that you should, if what you are about to do, if you have a characteristic that you know is going to be like a deal breaker
But they
for
don't know
most
that.
people.
They don't
for,
know.
For a one night stand, I mean, I guess is there like some kind
There's
of
plenty
like
of people
moral
that are like
conviction
literally
for most
chasers,
people?
dude.
And the guy doesn't know, like,
Yeah.
this
So if
is
there's
so ridiculous
if there's
because
some
there's.
indication, here's an example. Like if there's some
I agree, all of this
indication,
is bad.
if this
Okay, but what if they have like the
real quick,
trans flag in
real
their
quick,
wait,
real
hold
quick,
on,
real
wait,
quick.
wait, wait.
Let him answer. Let him
Real
answer that.
quick.
All right.
Let's say you were at like, I don't know, you were a barren woman and you went to like a breeders' convention where like men were like obsessed about the women's fertility, and like I think at that
Is that a
point,
thing?
like given the situation, you could there might be a moral duty for you to tell them, hey, just so you know, this thing that you're really into, that I've been like, you know, I'm attending this convention which has these kind of set parameters of what to expect. I'm not that.
So you're
right?
comparing a normal like sexual interaction between obviously it was staged, but between in the example that we're using, like two consensual adults like going to a convention that is hyper specified?
Oh, you gave him parameters,
No,
so
but
he's
I'm
telling
saying
you
I'm saying
where those
America when it comes to
parameters will
trans
work.
people specifically.
No, I want to keep it the same context. Like if it's just like a barren woman,
Well, no,
like does she have to disclose that?
You brought that up, right? So when it comes to like
Absolutely.
when it comes to trans people, like America here is the convention. Most Americans don't even support like transgender like as a thing.
So America
right?
is the
Over
breeder convention or
56%.
that just a convention?
And so, and then you have a smaller percentage that are okay with it, but then a very small percentage that they personally would be comfortable engaging in that activity, right? The odds are the person who you're about to sleep with, it probably is not comfortable with this fact.
Yes.
That's the odds.
So are you
Like,
gonna
the
hold that to a
overwhelming
legal
odds are
standard?
this. And so,
Okay, but what? Okay, no, let me ask you then. Like, okay, what if they have a trans flag, and then maybe the person that did, like, they're like super sheltered. They have absolutely no idea what a trans flag means. Like in their bio, and they're like dating, like they meet up on
And
a
that's
dating
not a
app.
reason. That's not reasonable.
Yeah,
right?
so there's
That's
always
no
a
longer
standard.
What do you mean? Is
reasonable.
that's not reasonable?
there's
for what?
always a
Like,
standard as to reasonable, like there's a reasonable person standard for a reason. We think of like, given the circumstances, given the sort of
Wait,
common knowledge that we
I think we
expect
need to
people
clarify
have.
this though. Like, okay, so if somebody's hooking up with somebody and they have a trans flag in their profile, this like super like sheltered like Christian guy or whatever, like is now flirting with somebody who it seems like they're very much being very obvious about their trans. Do you think that you need to go like a step further, or
But
is
you
that
think
like good
just
enough?
because you have a trans flag in your bio that makes it clear that you're trans? No.
If you're on a
that's not- you
dating
don't believe
website,
that.
okay, so why would you have a trans flag in your dating profile?
You know how
if
many
you're-
people have trans LBGTI?
No, we're talking about like I'm talking about like hookups. I'm not talking
wait,
like
you're not
Twitter
gonna talk with me.
accounts.
You're not gonna ask questions and then talk with me. You can do
It's a
that with
clear
them. That's not
indication
gonna
that
work.
it's
I'm trying to
So,
clarify.
anyway, back to what I was
What are you
saying.
talking about?
There's plenty of people that put support for LGBT issues
On their
in their
dating profile.
bios, in their tags, in their
Ukraine.
On their
whatever.
dating
And
profile.
that doesn't mean that
On
they're
their
actually a
dating
part of
profile.
the. Yes, absolutely. If you haven't seen it, go outside. I don't know. Go log in somewhere. Yes.
Yo.
People
I'm
put
sorry, I'm in a
Yes.
relationship. What do you? That actually happens? Anyone else seen that? On a dating profile?
I
not
haven't been
like
on dating.
Twitter.
I've been married for 5 years. I haven't been on a dating profile in forever. I have no idea. But what I'm going to state is I don't think that passes the reasonable person standard.
Of
I
course
don't
it
think
doesn't.
a reasonable person would see that and not think that there's a possibility that this person is trans, and if they don't
Okay, that's fair.
if they don't dig into it, then that's on them. It doesn't pass the reasonable person standard.
And I want to
So,
point out the odds here matter, right? So like if we lived in a society where like 95% of people like actually wanted herpes or something, then like at some point
my
like that
God.
it should be specified that like, hey, just so you know, I don't, right?
Why
Like,
would anyone want a disease? Trans.
Yeah, no,
That's a
it's just
hypothetical.
it's just a
Transition is not a
hypothetical.
disease.
You can't follow
You
this
fucking
point.
trans
Just
so
have-
rich,
That's
dude.
my
Are you
point.
serious?
I'm
We're
talking
just
about
a very hard thing to
expectations.
follow.
I'm
We're
talking about
going to go to
expectations.
Corey next because Corey has been waiting
Go ahead.
patiently. Please, thank you.
Well, I'm gonna springboard pretty much off what we just said and sort of so lack to it. Just kind of like extrapolate your example and to pose the question to you because you brought up, let's say, reasonable expectations. So kind of a scenario that I'm thinking of is, let's say, lack of disclosure of, let's say, relationships, because you brought up sort of implicit expectations, is lack of disclosure of relationship status or marital status, like potential rape by deception.
Yes.
As in,
Yes.
like, most people, and I'm only really limiting it to generally casual sex encounters, where it's like, yeah, there's the implicit expectation that, like, if someone's willing to engage in casual sex with you,
So many
they
men
are
would be in prison right now.
so you would agree that, let's say, if it's largely men that do this, that don't disclose marital status, relationship status, that is rape by deception, and that
So-
should be punishable.
Well, I want to be clear here. So I actually agreed a little bit when somebody was like, "Are you thinking there's like different degrees to rape?" I do think there is, right? We have like first, second to third degree, fourth degree sexual assault for a reason, right? There is like different actions that kind of mandate different levels of moral condemnation. Do I think that it is deceptive? Because I know people who have unintentionally slept with married people, and afterwards they feel terrible. And they're like, "I never would have done that if I had known."
Yeah.
And married people should know that. That should be a reasonable expectation, that if they knew this, they wouldn't do this with me. And so, yeah, it is a little bit rapey to do that. It is a little bit rapey. And I think that's, like, I'm not sure I'm going to hand down the same punishment level as, like, first degree sexual assault, but I am going to be like, hey, like, that's not okay. Like, at the very least, socially condemn it.
So how
That's
does
boring though?
So if I can
we
just
can say all of this is not okay.
But if I can just engage,
It's rapey specifically.
Yeah. So how does like this situation of lack of disclosure of being trans, like, how does that track? Like, where is that on? Is that more analogous to my example of, like, you're not okay with it, but there shouldn't be any, like, legislation passed?
I'm sort of in that board on that. Well, so I think there could be legislation. Again, I don't know what the punishment would be. Maybe you could make it a misdemeanor. Maybe you could make it a fine. I don't know. Like, you could figure out some kind of, like, reasonable punishment, not excessive, but reasonable considering the circumstances. But I would put it maybe more in line with that.
Okay, so my example isn't like the worst.
No, it's not the worst. It's not the worst. But I can think of plenty of examples, and you can even get, like, the difference, like, or the where it's it's deceptive and a little bit rapey, but, like, it's very, very, like, less so. So you lie about how big your dick is, or you lie about how tall you are, or you misrepresent certain things about your life. Like, if you say that you're rich, like Doobie's example. Oh, I have a Ferrari outside. Turns out you don't, right? And this person only slept with you for that reason. Again, the question you should always be asking yourself is, with any kind of consensual interaction, regardless of its sex or not, is, does this person understand, right? That's the first question in your mind. Does this person understand what they're agreeing to? And if you in good faith can say, I believe they understand what they're agreeing to, then you're probably a good person. If in your mind you think, well, I hope they don't find out XYZ, you're probably a shitbag.
And so, GSU Gambit, would you, like, agree with my example of, like, if you're not disclosing your marital status or relationship status, that is rape by deception?
Yeah, I think there's a strong case for that. I think what I would refer to would be how much of the public would disagree with an action on average through statistics, right? So let's say we were to poll most people, and most people said, yes, I would not engage in sex with somebody that is married. Then I think that would, in what same thing I was saying earlier, what Lector was just saying, I think that increases the severity. So things that we understand that most people would never want to engage in, I think if you deceive along those lines, it's definitely a higher bar than if you deceive along lines that are less so as severe. But I think there's a case. I think there's a case for that for sure. Yes.
So let's say we go back in history, where let's say United States and other countries were maybe a little bit more racist than they are today. So and let's say a certain demographic doesn't want to engage in sexual activities with a certain other racial group, but they happen to.
Be scared to say it, bro. It's okay. This is a good analogy.
No, but I still want to be respectful.
You're being careful.
Where it's like, so, but let's say they happen to pass or whatever, they're mixed, like I am, as in I'm white passing, but I'm half Chinese. So is it?
Hey, same.
So basically, is it the responsibility on the person to disclose, let's say, their ethnic background, if they know that they might be engaging in a sexual encounter with a racist, and that's pretty much the scenario.
This sounds crazy, but maybe so in some world. Like if I'm a person that would be seen by most of the population as white for some reason, and most of the world would not have sex with me if they knew I were black instead of white, yeah, I think there's grounds to say that that person should disclose, hey, that I'm not white.
And if
And
they're
it's along the lines of what Sproutican said. I think
and
what
that
we
would be
want to do
rape
is
or
reduce.
deception.
Yeah, dude, that sounds crazy, but yeah, maybe so.
Okay.
Maybe so. Yes, yes.
The
And I think it's
implications of that
but
are
like-
far-reaching.
yeah, but like what we want to do is we want to. Yeah, that sounds crazy, but yes, I think that's the right take for sure. Absolutely, I'll stand by that every day of the week.
I respect it.
But my question was like a lot of y'all earlier were talking about like whether or not something causes like objective harm and all of these things, and I don't think most of y'all actually believe that. You just virtue signaling. If I were, let's assume that we were in a state where prostitution is legal, and I was to tell somebody, hey, I have a bunch of money that I'm going to pay you for this sex act. And then after the sex act, it was revealed that I didn't have money. Now, there's two possibilities. One, you could charge this person with fraud, which would just be, hey, you didn't have the money, so you frauded this person. The other would be like something like rape by deception, where the contractual agreement, the informed consent that happened was over money. And I would ask you, how would you all charge an individual in that situation? Would you just charge them with fraud, or would you recognize that that breaks some of the boundary of consent, and likely that person wouldn't have engaged in that sex act? So this is a crime in the sex domain, so it's likely rape. Like, would y'all say that that's rape, or would y'all say, nope, that's just fraud and you just need to pay a fine?
If it's a
I would
purely
legitimately say
business
fraud.
transaction, yeah, I would say fraud.
I would actually make a new category called sexual fraud, where it's got a little bit of elements of both, because sex isn't, by its very nature, is sexual, and if you're dealing in sex, that if someone rapes a hooker,
that's what rape by
if someone rapes a
deception
hooker,
is.
it's not shoplifting, it's rape, right? So if they deceive a hooker, then it's not just fraud, right? It's sexual fraud. I think that makes sense.
That's what rape by deception is, though.
Yeah,
Sexual
basically.
fraud.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I
that's
think
what I'm saying. So I'm asking.
Oh, yeah,
So I'm
but
asking
I
them
wouldn't
because
consider it.
Let me be clear on why I'm asking y'all this. I'm asking y'all this because y'all wanted to tie things to like, oh, a disease can cause this type of harm, and I'm showing you
I
all
didn't
that
bring that
it's
up.
not just the harm that you all care about. There's more than that. So like for
You can have
Iko
subjective
or for
harm.
Mad Laden. No, I'm for that. So for Iko or Mad Laden, in the situation I just laid out, prostitution is legal. Somebody lies. Do you think a sexual crime was committed, or you think that that's just fraud?
I mean, like that analogy is much better than the analogies that we've been dealing with prior. Like comparing it to an STD again, and
That's the
Okay,
only
well,
thing
we
you've been
went
able to
It's,
talk
it's
about this
trying to
entire
get to the
panel.
same
move
point.
on.
though.
Shut,
Yeah.
Sproutacus.
That's the only thing you've been able to
No,
talk about this entire
Dude,
panel.
You've been able to quiz every single panelist on whatever the fuck you want. Just
They've
chill.
asked me questions.
No, chill. It's okay. It's not
They've
okay.
asked me questions. I don't know what you
It's
want.
okay, move
Okay,
on.
all right,
Yeah.
in a
Okay,
long
let's just-
time. Chill. It's okay.
Yeah,
Tell them
let's
to
just
stop
let Matt
interacting
Latin
with
answer
me.
the
Fucking
question.
Christ.
Matt Latin.
Anyway, so I think that this analogy works a lot better in describing what's going on, because you have it's like, you're expecting one thing and then you're getting something different, right? And what are the ramifications of that difference? So I think, yeah, I could see that being similar. I could see this being criminal on some level, for sure. Like, I think this whole sexual, what was the term you used, Lactoid? It was sexual
fraud.
Sexual fraud. I think there's like something to that, but like the biggest problem that I have with this is that we're trying to create like a concrete structure around something that's very, very gray. And maybe like my argument on this entire topic is that one-on-one human interactions vary so much, especially in the sexual realm, that we shouldn't even try to create some sort of like necessarily like a consistent measure when it comes to deciding whether someone did something right or wrong, especially in the specific case that we're talking about when it comes to like, I mean, I don't think you should like. I definitely think it's not okay to misrepresent yourself and then use that to have sex, right? Like that's bad. I understand that. I agree with that. Especially like I think intent really does matter, and I think communication.
Hold on, wait. I
matters.
just want to
I think
inject
that
one
gets
thing.
into a philosophical conversation.
It's
Go ahead.
it's hard to parse what you're saying. So
Yes.
when we use the word bad, I think we all agree with that. I think the word that I want to understand is criminal. So I know
Right.
that you're using bad, and we all agree on this panel on bad, right? But the distinction that we're making is bad versus criminal. So when you say what you're saying, it's good if you say whether or not you think it's criminal. That way we can all follow and understand where you are.
Right. And like that's the thing that I'm really struggling with is like if it is even if it is criminal, like how criminal should it be in the first place?
Well, just
And I don't even
being
think-
criminal.
I don't even
talking
know.
about
I don't
how
even know
many
if
years-
it's.
Yeah, but talking about how many years, we're not worried about that. Just does this meet your barrier for criminal activity is what we're trying to understand. How we charge it and what levels, that's a whole different conversation. But
So
first,
if you-
we have
well,
to-
so one thing, so one part of it is like, okay, so if it's like, we're talking about sexual fraud here, and that specific initial scenario, you're talking about someone who's expecting to get paid for a sex act and then did not get paid for the sex act, right? So like they were very clearly ripped off, and there's actual like objective harm that came from that encounter in the form of like lost revenue, which is again sort of different from what this conversation is about, which is like subjective harm. So like the analogy is closer to what we should be talking about, I think, but like, I think we're still like just a
But yeah,
little
but
bit
like
off.
answer the question. Just answer the question.
So is it criminal to present, would I charge that as a sexual crime or a as just like simple fraud, basically?
financial transaction, yeah. Theft, if you will.
Both.
I think it could be both. I think in that specific scenario it could be both.
Okay. Great.
Because yeah.
Okay,
Aiko.
so Aiko, you can answer that. And Doobie, I saw your hand up previously. I'm not sure if you still want to go, but I'll throw it to you later. All right, go ahead, Aiko.
What was the specific question again?
If you are just one of the, and I don't know if you made this argument earlier. I think it may have just been Nina, but so I could be wrong. But the argument was that hey, diseases and things are like cause objective harm.
Right.
So I was moving away from like biological things and saying if I'm tricking somebody to get consent, and I think the word trick is weird here. So we'll use deceive. If I'm deceiving somebody to get consent on things that don't cause physiological harm, do you still agree that these things can be rape by deception?
So hold on. Okay. So the financial question is if you're a John who pays for a prostitute and you're not getting the product that you expected, right? Is that the
Well, no, it's
scenario?
if you don't pay. You tell her you're going to pay. And
Yeah. If you don't pay, would you-
because you saw
no, you
the-
don't pay
you just
because you
didn't
don't
pay
have the
the
money.
you were going
So
to.
I like, hey,
She's the one that's
hey,
being-
I want to have sex. I'll give you $1 million. Y'all have sex, and then you're like, hey, I don't have $1 million.
You
right, yeah.
You didn't pay up. You finished and then you didn't pay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
wait,
assuming
the operative. Hold on. The
assuming that
operative
it wasn't
question is-
illegal activity to begin with, like prostitution is legal in that area, whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, you've broken the contract.
But is
No,
it
no,
trick?
wait. But this was I asked a specific question after that. Would you charge them with fraud, or would you charge them with some sort of sexual crime because it feels like informed consent was broken? That was just
Oh,
specific
because there
question.
is because the expectation of payment means that there wouldn't have been consent otherwise.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a hard one, but I guess I'd have to lean on I would have to lean towards fraud because what's not being given is payment, right? Yeah, that's what I would have to do. But
But
I do agree that that's a hard question. Like,
What's also not being given though is informed consent, right? At that point, you know,
Well,
at
actually-
that point, that person no longer had informed consent.
Well, actually, what's interesting about this is that you could take this to court and say, "Hey, this person didn't pay me," and then you could actually have like the court say, "Okay, well, then this person owes you X amount of dollars, right? And we're gonna like take it out of their paycheck."
Would you be okay with that world? So let's say there's a world where
real quick.
a lot of people are sex positive. They want prostitution to be legal. And imagine
Yes.
a world where people lie to prostitutes and they use them for sex, and then they go to court and have to pay some fine.
I mean, I'm sure
Or
this
do
is
you
like.
thi-
an
or do
actual
you
thing.
think those
There's
people?
plenty of places where
hold on, wait,
prostitution
wait,
is
wait.
legal, and that's what they do. It
I
already
know,
exists.
I know. So me personally, my ideology on this is that men who are women who commit acts like this should be charged with some sort of sexual criminal crime. That's what I'm saying. So I'm asking to see if y'all agree that this should be some sort of sexual crime, or do you only think it's fraud and you only care about the business transaction?
No,
side?
because the
And
infraction
informed
is the non-payment, and so to say that
Well, the
failing
infraction
to
is the
pay a
consent
debt
as
is
well.
rape would be. I just
Well, hold on, but
Wouldn't the-
Aiko,
wouldn't
Aiko,
wouldn't the
when-
wouldn't the
when you-
infraction be consent
when-
as
when-
well?
when-
Yeah, the
Aiko?
No,
infraction
the
is
infraction
fraud.
is that
when you
Yeah,
commit
Lacto,
fraud,
because
you're not
your
just
example
repaying
earlier
it.
was good.
You also
said,
get
like,
punished.
it's not shoplifting. What was that? Do that. So what was that thing you said?
I said if you rape like a hooker, it's still rape. It's not shoplifting, right? Just in the same way, if you like defraud a hooker, it's not just fraud, right? There is an element here that needs to be like taken into consideration.
Yeah, we can't completely detach the sexual relation.
And yeah, we can't completely detach the sexual element to it. And the other thing,
at least I thought we couldn't.
Well, and the other thing here
Do you
is
think
like
if somebody wait, okay, so if prostitution is all right.
When it comes to fraud, it's not just the case that, oh, you caught me, I guess I give you what I owe you, then walk away. There's penalties for that, right? If you got a car dealership that's defrauding people, like we find out, yeah, not only do you owe the people back like what you owe them, but we're also gonna like come after you, right? Because we can't have a society in which people are comfortable doing this and then just if they get caught having to like pay up. No, we're gonna like if it's egregious enough, we're gonna start like coming after you criminally. That's the whole point. It makes sense to me.
Okay. Yeah, but you would make a distinction between failing to pay and just grabbing a prostitute and like just raping her. Like, you would make a distinction between those two things.
Obviously, there's a distinction in the same way there's a distinction when it comes to like white collar fraud and like armed robbery, right? One traditionally carries much higher penalties than the other because again, like there's a whole bunch of a million different factors at play. There are different, but ultimately, again, with fraud, you don't just get let off the hook once you pay your debt, right? The whole point is, when you're entering into a contract with somebody, the assumption is you're entering that into good faith.
It's not always going to be criminal charges when it comes to fraud, right?
Not
like if an employee and like, yeah, I mean, like
fraud literally is a criminal
if they can prove their
this.
case, there will be though because the DA will take anything they can try to win.
Does this just apply to money, or could you say, for instance, like a lot of prostitutes have a rule, a no kissing rule, right? Because that to them is too much intimacy. And in the middle of the act, the John kisses her. Does that kiss now turn the whole act into rape?
I think
that would turn into more of a civil case.
I think there's grounds for that.
The kiss itself is non-consensual. You can make the same analogy when it comes to like anal when she doesn't want to, or
you could make anything else when she doesn't want to. Like you could make an analogy probably. You could make an analogy probably to sexual assault.
Yeah,
I would consider that sexual assault.
Like, for example, what if she only consented to kissing, but she didn't consent to sex? Like, clearly that's a problem, right?
That one's easier. Yeah,
it's easier.
But I mean, because one's an escalation over the other.
Well, it depends on what you think is an escalation. Because there's a lot of prostitutes who are like, well, they specifically don't want to kiss.
Let's go to Doobie, then Bam.
I think we've already solved this, right? To be honest with you. So the reason I brought up the gay guy basically catfishing a woman is because that's something that actually did happen, right? It was like a pretty big story a while back because in that case, the guy went back and they like met online, met up for sex. The guy got like a blowjob or whatever. And then afterwards, the guy left still thinking it was a woman. Then one of his friends matched up with the same person on Tinder, went to the guy's apartment, who was still pretending to be a woman, felt uncomfortable, so he left. Yeah, and then the guy went back and was like, "Okay, I'm going to figure out if this is a man or woman. I think it's a woman, but they're saying it might be a man, so I'm going to go figure it out." Right, and yeah, it turns out it was a gay dude pretending to be a woman to seduce young college guys. Right, so. In that case, it ended with the guy being like beaten to death. They determined that was like self-defense. So the guy who beat him to death got off with like like the charges were dropped. But or he was found like not guilty. So. Case. Oh well, it's interesting, right? If you actually read through why they determined he was not guilty, I think there's like a solid reasoning for it. It wasn't just like he wanted to beat him up. No, not really.
Right? Like they have a rage.
No, not even that.
I wouldn't even say it in like a negative way. I think that was literally what they found. Like
it wasn't even that.
I'm looking at the case right now.
Yeah, it wasn't gay panic, right? It was the guy, I guess, grabbed his balls when he was confronted, right? So the gay guy grabbed the straight guy's balls when he was confronted. Straight guy slaps him across the face. And then the gay guy goes to the bed and starts grabbing for something. So the other guy thought it was going to get a gun or something.
Okay,
like a
so then it's an assault thing and not like a. So this is okay. So that context changes everything.
No,
because it becomes a physical altercation, and that's why.
Doesn't change the first part.
Of course, it becomes a physical altercation. But the point of why I brought this up was this is a case where a gay guy was catfishing as a woman to seduce college-age guys, right? And it was working for God knows how long. So
But
in
he
that
admitted
case,
out of
so
rage
I
he
think
initially punched the guy 5 times. Like it was a like.
so. Wait,
an
please,
event.
can I? So I think that if we this story right, or like told about like in any other context, yeah, hey, I'm pretending to be something I'm not to seduce young college men, and like catfish them. You guys would probably say, hey, yeah, this is bad. You're having sex with these people. They have no idea what they're actually agreeing to. This is bad. It's probably criminal, right? But I think that the issue that we're having is trans people are involved right now. And I think there's a tendency from a lot of people, especially on the left, for when a trans person is involved to find some reason it's different than every other case.
No,
Right? It
it's not
reminds me of like
their fault, because like
it reminds me of the Family Guy skit from a few years back, where it's like, oh, the woman's watching porn at the bar, and the bartender's like, hey, you can't watch porn at the bar. And the response is, "Oh, it's okay. I'm trans." So the guy says, "Oh shit, I didn't know. You can do whatever you want all the time."
No, it's not like that
Like,
at all.
it's
Though,
literally
because, like,
this.
no, it's not because like.
Well, then tell me
no,
why.
because like
tell me why. Okay,
there's
then wait, I'm gonna ask you
scenarios.
the question again. I'm gonna ask you the question again.
Well, hold on,
So
before
tell
we
me
act-
why.
before
So
you-
tell
no,
me why
like,
it wouldn't be rape. Tell me
because-
why it wouldn't be rape for this
because-
gay guy, please, for this gay guy to pretend to be a woman to seduce young men.
You're going in one extreme. I'm going to explain.
That's
like,
not. That's not an
well,
extreme.
hold on. No, we can go in the opposite direction too, right? Like, there's people who exaggerate their accomplishments to get laid too, right? And we wouldn't call
Yes,
that.
so
we're
we've all
talking about-
stated
we're
that.
talking
We've
about a
all stated
specific-
that. We've all stated
We're
that's the same
talking
thing.
about a
no,
specific.
No,
So
what's
So
your
congratulations.
problem?
Stop,
Wait,
stop. It
person
doesn't matter.
now.
We
We're
didn't talk
talking.
about
We're
it.
talking
We
about a
didn't say that
specific.
was
No,
rape.
we don't need to
That's
talk
what-
about that.
hold
Let's
on,
not
a little
talk
bit.
about
We
raping.
should talk
about
We're
that.
talking.
We do need to talk
We're
about that,
talking
actually.
about
Well,
it's just
okay,
kind of interaction.
hey, whoa, pull back. All right, Doobie, finish what you're trying to say
Okay.
about Mad Latin.
Well, I think mudding the waters by bringing up, hey, what about people that lie about their accomplishments? What
You're
about
muddying
people
the waters
that lie
by
about
bringing up
stuff?
this
Shut up!
case.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! I think that absolutely muddies the waters. We're talking about something very specific, which is a male presenting as a female to have sex with males who might not be interested in having sex with
I
males.
think we're talking about
that is
specifically
what
as- no,
happened.
what we're actually talking about in
that
this
is
case-
what happened in the case of the gay guy, of the gay male.
Well, yeah,
who
your
was
example that's
presenting as
muddying
a
the
woman
waters on this
to fuck
discussion.
to fuck straight males. It's what was being presented.
literally
in
muddying the
please
waters in this
stop.
example.
Please stop. It's what's being presented in the case of this
Okay.
transgender person, where they present as a woman, fuck what might be a straight guy, and the only difference is rather than hey I'm gay, it's hey I'm trans, and that makes it better somehow.
No, it's not the same thing at all. Like, we're literally talking about like what is necessary to like get consent, and then what is consent, and like what extremes exist, because we're trying to figure out like what the line is, right? Like, what should happen in a situation when someone has a secret and they think that the person won't sleep with them if their secret is revealed. So like, it could be something as simple as going to a prestigious university, right? And then claiming that you're like a straight A student and that like is attractive to someone, and then it turns out that you're failing out of that university and they like have sex with you, and it's like, okay, is that like the same thing? Is that rape or is that not rape, right? Like, you
Okay,
can go
do
the
you think the
opposite
average
direction.
one's been able to make
Do you
a
think the
distinction
average
between these
person?
two
Do you think the average heterosexual person is then considered a bigger violation to
and
find
now
out
we're
they're
gonna talk
sleeping
about
with a
the
C
specifics,
student?
right.
Please stop. Think about a C student versus sleeping with a man, with a male.
Well, no,
Okay, what happens if I
what
say
would be the
yes?
bigger
What if I say-
violation?
What if I
But
think
see-
they're
but see,
what if
here's
I
the
think that
thing.
most
Now
people
you're
think they're
get-
exact same?
and now when-
how do we move forward with the conversation?
Right, and like,
You guys have totally let go of this informed consent thing. You guys left.
well,
you
no,
fucking
the-
left
the
to talk about
point-
all
I'm
the
saying
fucking
that you
time.
can't
make it,
Because
So the
trans
point
people
here,
are involved.
the point here is
As
that
soon
we
as
are
trans people
actually
get involved, your
Rather, I
fucking
thought you
brains
made
are
your
gonna
point.
be
Informed
mush. and you
consent
just
is
can't
about
engage with
medical
anything.
procedures generally, so I think that's
Yeah,
basically
no.
the
No,
issue.
No,
also
informed
about
consent is
stop.
about sexual
Stop,
interaction.
Oh,
Stop.
you want to Google it?
Stop.
No,
No,
I think-
so if you're talking legally,
Wait a
if you're
minute.
talking
Wait a
legal
minute, it's not
informal,
working.
if you're talking legal informed consent, then what you're going to look up is you're going to see medical, because that's typically the way those two words are
Literally, that's
legally
exactly
used.
what I
But-
just
Okay,
said.
but-
okay,
Literally what I
okay.
literally just said.
Panels, if you
Okay,
guys have
whoa,
any-
There's
whoa,
more.
everyone
There's
shut up,
more.
Ev-
Congratulations.
Hey guys, knock it off! And I see Lactoid is about to fucking explode here. Let's go to Bam and then Lactoid with the time we have remaining.
For sure.
We might not have time for the Mad Latin and Corey for this.
Prime?
No.
Do I just get cut off in the middle of my argument?
You just
Yeah,
you were just
because
gonna
I
say
gotta
that
move
it's
on
the
because
same.
we're out of time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, actually.
Like,
Matt,
I agree.
Bam.
Consent's important. I that like we agree. We don't have to spend 10 minutes on that. Like the my position has nothing to do with trans people. I said it in my opening. I said, like, on face value, related to the trans issue, intuitively, I want to say yes. Like, yeah, like that should be criminal. You should tell them. But I can't make a distinction between why everything else someone could lie about is less important. Besides saying, well, do you think most people would agree? When that's not that's just an appeal to what appeal.
Some things are more axiomatic to sexuality. That's why.
I don't think it's an argument. I think you're
that
just saying
is.
because all of these things are extremely subjective to the person you're dealing with. It would be one thing if you were having sex with the world, but you're having sex with one person.
The things that we include in rape by deception are based off what most reasonable people would assume, not based off the individuals involved.
What a reasonable person is. I think that it's reasonable to expect that a lot of people are religious. I think it's reasonable to expect that a lot of people wouldn't want to like have sex. The majority of the world probably doesn't want to have sex before marriage. So the idea of like someone saying that they like I don't want to marry you, like I'm gonna want to marry you after this might be a form of deception. Like
what are you talking about?
I'm talking about.
What does that have to do with anything?
Because when you just appeal to what the majority of people would like, again, the majority of people probably.
Wait. We're talking about when a reasonable person might be deceived. If a person is saying that they want to wait until they're married to have sex and engaging in fornication pre-sex, this isn't the domain of them losing informed consent.
Well,
that makes no sense.
It does actually, because if they're under the assumption that like
it's pre-marriage. Do you understand that premarital sex and waiting until marriage to have sex are like not congruent at all?
Because people literally have sex with the expectation of like, oh, okay, we're getting married out of this. Why do you think shotgun weddings happen? That was really like an expectation, like, oh, okay, we're doing this, but immediately after we're doing this because we are getting married. That's something that's going to happen.
No, that's just false.
Okay, so just
the shotgun wedding thing was like, oh, we fucked up and we had a baby before we got married. So now we're going to cover it up and get married now because we're having a baby. It's not what you just described.
I think it's speculating. Like this is
no, we're not speculating. I'm saying exactly what the words mean. I'm not speculating at all.
I'm saying that whenever the biggest thing I'm saying is the fact that we're making up this imaginary reasonable person, and the reasonable person is just defined by anything that you would personally have an issue with or not have.
This has nothing to do with us personally.
It does.
We refer to the statistics that most heterosexual people don't want to be tricked into having sex with a trans person. So answer me. Anything to do with this.
Okay, wait. Answer me directly.
Transphobia.
Don't say anything about transphobia. I don't care about that.
This isn't transphobic at all.
Because I said it 5 times. Do you think the average woman would be comfortable having sex with a guy with a 400 body count?
Yes.
You think that's reasonable?
Yes.
See, again, what reasonable person are you talking about? I think the average.
I think if you did a poll, hold on, wait. Are you gonna let me finish? You asked me a question. I think if you did a poll and you asked women, "Hey, is body count? How big of a disqualifier is body count towards sex?" I think the average answer that you would get would be extremely different than asking heterosexual people, would you engage in sexual intercourse with somebody that would make you not heterosexual?
You didn't say how is it kind of important to you. I said
no. We talked about degrees of severity the whole time. Have we not? We mentioned it 10 times.
I'm saying hypothetical. You didn't deal with what I said specifically.
No, it did.
Having sex with a guy with 400, not
like I specifically answered you. You disagreed with me, but I answered with you, and I said I think yes, women would be okay with that. I specifically gave you an answer. Okay. And then I went on to expound. I'm not like y'all. I don't run from answers. I said, yes, I think most women, I don't think body count is that much of a
not just body count, 400 body count specifically.
I don't care. 2,000. I don't care. I don't care what number you put.
Okay, the average one, and again, so this is why I'm saying when I'm saying we're making up a reasonable person.
No.
I think the average woman would find a problem with that, and I think that like a guy with that body count would have experience with that and know like, okay, this is something I probably shouldn't disclose if I want to have a positive.
So can I respond? So first, what we brought to the table, we're talking about the subject domain that we came here to talk about. Now, if you'd have told me we came here to talk about body count, I would have went and did research to figure out how do women feel about excluding people from sex because of body counts. Now, I'm giving you what my interpretation is. I'm telling you that this is my interpretation of this. But the thing about wanting to have sex with trans people, that's publicly, like, you can Google that and find that. I don't know if you can Google the topic we're talking about. You asked me for my opinion, so I gave you my opinion in the moment because we're on a panel, and that's what we should do. But I gave you my opinion, and that could be different from what the actual numbers are. We should look it up. But I would think that if you asked most people sexually active, does the body count of the male like exclude them, the want for them to have sex? I think the answer would be no.
Okay, so let's finish up with Lactoid.
This is actually, and I'm going to draw into a little bit of GSU's point and disagree with part of it, but I think the best analogy that the pro-deception crowd could argue for, if they really wanted to, would be, well, what about plastic surgery, right? What if you get somebody who has a bunch of plastic surgery and looks totally different? Is that wrong, right? Is that deception? And again, I think, although this specific point wasn't brought up, I think the reason why it's one of the strongest points is, well, isn't that identical, right? It seems like on principle to be identical, but when you look at it, it's not identical because not only is it, are you deceiving somebody about something, it's, are you deceiving somebody about something material that they're going to have a problem with? And this is actually where I'm going to disagree with what GSU said. I think guys do care about a woman's body count. And I do think it's actually...
No, he was asking me the opposite. He asked me the opposite, to be clear.
Okay.
He asked me what women
way around, though,
care if yes.
Sure. But other way around, I think, if we're going to play with the hypothetical, I think it is true that, like, yes, a man is going to care a lot about a woman with a 400 body count. And
yes, but that's not the question he asked me.
Right. And I think that whether verbally or non-verbally, right, maybe she does it through dropping hints or by misrepresenting something. I don't know exactly how you would do it. But if there was a way for a woman to make it look like she didn't have 400 sexual partners previously when she did, I think that would be deceptive. And I think it would be deceptive about something that most men would care about. And I think it would be completely analogous. And I think it would be a problem, right? Like, Bam, would you have a problem with, like, let's say, for some reason the topic doesn't come up, okay? Let's just say it's a faux pas to bring it up or whatever, and so it just doesn't come up. But the woman, like, intentionally tries to make it look like she does not have a 400 body count, like very hard, like she puts a lot of effort in doing it. And you specifically, like, after the fact, find out, like, yeah, she's with 400 people in the past year, let's say, okay? Would you be bothered about the fact that she made it look like to you that she didn't do that?
I mean, I'm not a person that would super care, but yeah, generally, like, yeah, I think I would matter, but I wouldn't make it. I don't think I would have a case in court. I don't think I could make a criminal argument that like I'm just like, she disgusted me, and this is something I wouldn't have felt comfortable with if I knew hand, so she should do jail time or be fined for this. I think that's the thing that I can't make a distinction like between that and the trans thing. So that's why I'm like, even if I think it's bad, even if I think as a person shouldn't do it, I don't think I can argue for it to be criminal because I can't make a societal distinction between them, like a real distinction between those two. What makes those two things different versus like personal opinion?
Well, again, with like any kind of criminal action, it has to do with like whether or not what are the reasonable expectations, what is the intent of the person like who's being deceptive, right? What are the issues that come with that? I think there's a whole bunch of factors when it comes to passing legislation that we can just say like, hey, when it comes to this particular thing, you need to be pretty transparent. I don't think that's unreasonable, right? We did that. We would do that when it came to the rape by deception case where the guy snuck in and pretended to be the woman's boyfriend. Even though she never asked that. What was her expectation?
I'm actually really glad that you brought up. Oh, did you take me off the thing? Sorry, I had to stand up and I was in rage. Prime, put me back so people can see me.
Wrecked.
Okay,
I did. Okay,
just hurry up because we are past time, and
yes.
I want
to. I actually am really glad that you brought the plastic surgery example because I think this is actually way closer of an analogy. And there's actual cases. There was a case in, I think it was China, a woman. I think it was I don't remember who got married to whom, but someone got married to someone, and they had a kid, and then the kid was not nearly as attractive as they expected.
Those kids were ugly.
Yeah, you saw the case. Okay, yeah. Like I actually think that is a lot closer to what we're dealing with here. And I think like the point that we're getting to, like, it's not about the popularity of whatever traits exist or whatnot. It's really about like what's right and what's wrong, right? Like we're just deciding, is it okay to be sneaky in one regard, and it's not okay, right? We all agree that's not okay to trick someone into having sex with you. The question is like, in what way is it not okay? And I think that's like, I don't necessarily think it's entirely criminal. I think it's more along the lines of having being communicative with whoever you're hooking up with, and like, you know, actually evaluating what's going on, either as a person who is trans or who is not trans.
I think that everything here exists on a spectrum, right? And on one, like, there's a million different factors, and at some point in the spectrum, we say, okay, this has risen to the to be a problem enough where we're going to start applying criminal penalties.
Right. So there'd have to be like three things, right? Like it would be like, okay, there's intent, there is like knowledge that like it's like intent, knowing that the person would be like upset, like have a problem with this, and then proceeding with that intent anyway. And then like something along the lines of like, I mean, maybe that just gets combined in intent. It's just like, you know, having the follow through anyway, sort of. I guess that's still intent. So maybe it's just two things, like intent and the knowledge of like the person's discomfort with whatever is going on. Like,
and then those two combined are like that's what makes up, like, I guess, the wrongness, you know, and I guess the specificity of the action as well.
Right. I mean, I guess like the severity of
with trans people though, just because they're a protected class. It would be
Okay,
like,
so we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on from here. Thanks guys for this conversation. We'll move on to our second topic. Before we do so, guys, consider supporting the channel by subbing to the channel, gifting bits or gifting subs. Is how we keep this whole thing up and running. Socrates, thank you for recently for 26 months. He said informed consent is in regards to medical interventions. What is what is brain rot? And trans people generally disclose status ASAP because they'd rather not be murdered and have their murderer walk free. Yeah, that's true. But guys, consider subbing to the channel, gifting bits or gifting subs. Like, this is how I make it happen. GSU being a real one. Thank you, GSU. With 10 subs. No, seriously, man. Like, you're great. And I say it all the time. And it helps out. You're just a huge help. 431 subs in total. Okay, thank you so much, man. Guys, if you want to, let's do a hype train. If we get 2 more individual people who donate, either sub themselves or give bits or give subs, we can start ourselves a hype train. You get an emote to get our after viewing, and you'll be making this thing happen for another day. All right. Or resub. Okay, so my friend GSU, who has been so kind to us today, has to head out. GSU, thanks so much. If you want to do like a closing statement or anything, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm happy to be here. This was an interesting topic, so I'm happy I was able to jump in for a little bit. Sorry I have to go. I have great insight for Nina, because this happens to me too. If you respond to people, it sounds like you're talking a lot, so you never get to talk on like your own turn and tell like your own ideas and thoughts. So what you have to do is, when people say crazy statements, you have to just let them talk, and then eventually it'll come back to you. Because I don't think you got a lot of time to like express your own ideas. You were like responding to us a lot, and I actually wanted to hear some more of what you had to say. But so that's one thing that happens on panels, and it's kind of unfortunate. But everybody, happy to be here. Happy to yell at y'all.
Can I just say one thing to you, GSU? This is a historical thing for Aiko. So you self-reported that you've seen the movie Indecent Proposal because you brought up the paying $1 million, and that's pretty much the plot of Indecent Proposal. Great movie.
I haven't.
No, you have totally. I'm obviously joking, but that is the movie. That is the plot movie.
But cool. I'm always happy to be here. Talk to y'all soon. I might try to listen to some of the second topic, but I got something I got to get to as well. But shout out to y'all. To all my Black people out there, students are graduating from high school. Be some sort of mentor to them. Give something to them. Shout out to all the graduates in 2023. Y'all, we got to build up our community.
I'll mentor them not to become a streamer. All right. Thanks so much, buddy.
Cool. All right. See y'all soon.
Okay. I'll get myself on screen in a second. Mad Latin, thank you for the 1,000 bits. He says, I haven't decided who to mute. If I'm going to. We haven't muted anyone in like such a long time.
Really? That's our thing.
Yeah, we haven't done it. And I mean, just like on the channel, we just haven't done the whole mute thing for a very long time. I'll get myself on screen again. So We got to bring that back. In case you guys don't know what we're talking about, basically you could pay like a certain number of bits, which would be 1,000 bits, right? And meet someone for like 10 minutes. And we haven't done that for so freaking long. But thank you so much. And we're close to a hype train. If we get one more, Bam helped us out by gifting us to Anta something. Antonactus. Thank you. Yeah.
Antenna cactus.
Something. But anyway, I hope you enjoy your sub. And then also Remy LeBeau gives us 245 bits. Because of that, we're at 93% of a level 2 hype train. I was going to say level 7. This is wishful thinking. Help us get to a level 3 hype train. Consider helping us out. Now is a great time to do it. Resub, gift subs, or sub yourself. If you've been finding value in this, hit that follow button also if you haven't done so yet. I'm just putting that out there. And yeah, but we're like almost there to level 3. Help us get over the hump to a level 3 hype train. Subs to channel, get bits or gift subs. Use Amazon Prime Gaming. If you're out there, you got one of those, use those. Satellite of Love is helping us out and gifting a sub as well. Thank you, Satellite of Love. And which put us over the edge. We're level 3 hype train. Help us get to level 4. We do need that help. We do. This is how we power this this whole thing. So we can't do it without you. So consider helping us out. And Sproticus for another 100 bits. So thank you, Sproticus, another really kind individual. All right. And we're at level 3 hype train, 6% done, 94% left. I might interrupt you guys during your intros for another shout out here, but okay. All right, so we're gonna go on to our next topic. And thanks for waiting. We went a little overtime, but I want to give you guys a bit more space to do that. All right, topic 2. Jonathan Neely was a black homeless man who seemed to have a mental health crisis on an NYC subway last Monday. He began ranting and raving in an aggressive manner. Another subway rider, suspected to be a U.S. Marine, took it upon himself to intervene and put Neely in a chokehold for 15 minutes. Neely died, and his death was ruled a homicide. However, the Marine has yet to be, well, when I wrote this, he hadn't yet to be named. His name's like Penny or something. He has yet to be charged with a crime. Do you think that amount of force used against Neely was necessary? Do you think that the Marine should be charged? And what do you think that the discourse surrounding this stuff, about the discourse surrounding this? So we talked about this on Thursday. If you are one of the people who come through on all black everything, then you would know that. We did have a great conversation there. However, it was limited because people kind of like agreed. So I wanted to talk about this with white people. I have some white people within my stable. And so
Stable.
You heard me. I don't take it back. So I brought on our great white friends here, and I'm making this worse. And I really want to hear their opinions on this. So I'm excited to have them all here. 2.5 minutes after the clock, help us get to a little hype train. Any little bit helps. So substitute channel, give bits, give subs. It does help us out a ton. All right, so I'm going to start with my man Lactoid.
Yeah, so hopefully I'm not going to disappoint as one of the white people here to give my white opinion. I'm going to I'm going to say two things. The first thing I'm going to say is, like other incidents that we have had in the past, unfortunately, we do not have a video of the circumstances prior to the chokehold, so we simply don't know ultimately whether or not this was justified or not. I cannot say definitively, and none of us can say definitively unless we have that evidence, first of all. Second of all, we're here to talk about it. So absent that video, I think we should look at reasonable expectations, okay? And I think reasonable expectations could also go into whether or not this Marine felt justified in what he did. Because when you look at the person who died here, Neely, you see a long history, over 40 incidents of attacking people in the subway. Now, I don't know if the Marine knew about that, right? If the Marine knew about that, that could be an issue, right? Maybe the Marine thought, okay, he's going to attack people, I got to step in. We don't know any of that. So all of that is going to be relevant to whether or not this was justifiable. Ultimately, regardless of whether or not it was justifiable, I don't think the Marine meant to kill this guy. I think, based on an extended video I saw, what it appears to be is you see Neely pretty violently struggling with the Marine trying to restrain him using a chokehold, and then you had other passengers trying to hold his arms. Multiple people on the subway were trying to restrain this guy. Apparently, he was having an episode just prior to this. Like I said, until I see the video, which I don't even know if one exists, we can't say definitively what happened. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's the reality.
Okay, thank you so much. Help Save the Hype Train has seconds left on the clock. If you can, help us out. Any little bit does help. Okay, we'll thank you, Lactoid, white person extraordinaire. We'll go to our friend Corey as well. Another white individual.
Yeah, the second person in the stable. I'm a horse person now, apparently. So I echo a lot of this, the things that Lacto just went through in terms of basically, as far as I can tell, it's really hard to establish any real facts in this case. And just going by, I guess reasonableness, whatever that means. But I do want to correct one thing, at least the way that it's framed, because I think Lactoid specifically said over 40 incidents of attacking people on the subway, and I think that is specifically incorrect. It's not 40 incidents. They have 40 charges, most of them minor, but there are specific, I think 3 or 4 incidences of them attacking people. That is true, but it's not over 40 incidences of attacking people on the subway. That is just flat out wrong. To answer the specific prompts, in terms of based off of what I've seen in the video, and trying to come to some sort of conclusion about the facts of there's some sort of case you made of restraining the person, but I think they clearly overstepped the line really explicitly, and that they're totally unnecessary, that amount of force resulting in their death. I don't think the Marine, I don't know for sure, but I don't think the Marine actually intended to take their life. But I would also hope that if they're a Marine, they have some sort of adequate training and they seem to know how to implement a chokehold. I would kind of assume that maybe incorrectly that they also know the limits of a chokehold, and that if you're holding it for a prolonged period of time, that you're probably going to be killing them at some point. But I'll leave it there for now.
Okay. Bam, please.
As far as like I said, I think that there's two parts of the conversations. There is the systemic conversation of the situation that create these dynamics, and then there is the individual interpersonal situation of the people in the train car at that time. I think that it's super. I think that based on what's known, it does seem to be reasonable that the people in the train car did feel some sort of legitimate fear. The issue though is the people in the train car, even the Marine, wasn't properly trained to manage that situation. And I wouldn't expect a civilian or a military official to be able to deal with someone having an episode, because you just don't put people in chokeholds. You're never supposed to cut off oxygen to the brain, and as well as the Marines specifically teach blood chokes, which is a really fast way to kill people. So I don't care. I don't think they had specific bad intentions, but I think that it was it reached the level of gross negligence, disregard for human life, especially with someone holding his hands so he can't even tap out of the situation. That I do believe that there should be criminal charges pressed against them. But again, it's not about the individuals in the train car or the particular dynamics. I think we should talk about the systemic reasons that create these types of situations.
Browdicus. So beautiful. Words that touch the heart.
I do want to let the panel. I do want to let the panel know that there is a video of this on the postmillennial.com. The video starts off with him with Neely in the chokehold. So I can't tell you how long before that it was held. What I can tell you is the actions of the Marine afterwards. After Neely had stopped resisting, Then Neely was put into the recovery position, which is a medical position that's often taught in the military by combat lifesavers. And the Marine did check for pulse multiple times. The entire time that he was in the chokehold, he was consistently telling other passengers to call 911. This does not appear as an intentional homicide. If anything, this seems as a accidental manslaughter and possibly self-defense. I don't have any information as to what the behavior was before to regard the self-defense. That's why I'm saying possible self-defense. But this certainly doesn't seem like intentional homicide. It seems like a person who does not know their own strength was trying to restrain somebody, and afterwards trying to give whatever medical aid he was capable of doing post the chokehold.
Okay, thank you so much, Nina.
Are you fucking serious? Okay, there is so much to that that is so fucking stupid that I don't even know where to start here. Okay,
Do you have
so
a video?
the man is a video. I watched the same fucking video, dude. You understand this is a developing story, right? You know, today the lawyers for them are charging. You know, he put out a statement, right, saying that he blamed the country, like the city, for like mental health issues. Does that seem like somebody who feels guilty about killing somebody? No. You know what he did do? He did choke him, put him in a chokehold like this, which is something that not only did he do that could easily just destroy his larynx. Like, it's not like choking him as in like cutting off air. It can destroy his actual structure there. So that alone to begin with could have killed him. He's a Marine. He is taught to do combat. He knows what deadly force is. He chose to do deadly force there because he knew what deadly force. Being a Marine is not an easy thing to do. And you have to go through a shit ton of fucking training, dude. I know, dogs. I'm getting triggered too. But like it is amazing. You know, he held him like that for 15 minutes. He shit himself, and everyone was in the video. In the video, you know that you saw it, right? We saw the same video where people were telling him to let him go. You don't need to hold something like this to keep them restrained. Just hold them with their arms behind their back. The police have even made it so you can't do those anymore. You're really gonna fucking tell me that he was justified in the force? There was 3 people restraining him. Did he attack anybody? No. Did we know that he had the history that, yeah, he assaulted, like, he had, like, got arrested, like, 42 times, over, like, 10 years? That doesn't matter. That's like the same argument that motherfuckers would make about George Floyd. George Floyd was a meth addict. That doesn't mean that the person who did that to him knew that. They obviously didn't fucking know that. And it's so fucking bullshit for you to assume any of that shit. This is all the fucking right-wing propaganda that you are just sucking down like crazy. You know that there is no reason why that he should have died like that. That motherfucker held him for 15 minutes in a chokehold.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Prime, can I have mod in your chat, please?
What, are you gonna ban me?
No, no, not you. I'm being called a terrorist in Prime's chat. If that could be taken care of.
Oh my god, you're such a fucking soy boy baby, dude.
I would prefer not to be called a terrorist.
Okay, are you okay with being? What about?
Oh my god, I think we gotta move on. Madeline.
Hold on, deleting all the things that are offending Sprouticus. Hold on. I gotta do your. I gotta earn my keep. And it's been a year. Okay. Oh Jesus, chill, dude. Here, let me time this motherfucker out. Here, I got you. Here. Okay, all right. Okay. So, wait. All right. So looking at the video, like the Marines warned very clearly that like you might be killing the guy. Like this happened several times, right? Like the dude was warned while he was in the process of killing this the individual that like, you know, you're killing him. So like, yeah, there's a lot of liability on this Marine's end, but not just that. Like anyone who's deciding to be a vigilante or a Samaritan or whatever else does take on some measure of risk when you're doing those sorts of things. And you do have to be competent if you're going to engage with someone like that. And like very clearly, he demonstrated a lack of competence because he literally killed the person that he was trying to restrain. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Okay. All right.
I'm sure.
Let's go.
Look, I did it.
Aiko.
Yeah, I mean, there are several things that we've learned in the last couple of days that we weren't assuming at the beginning. One of them is that that this was self-defense, that that people in the subway were being attacked. Now we're hearing that he was just yelling at people. That was the thing that he was responding to, was just yelling. Also, like, I don't think intent is all that much in dispute when people are saying he wasn't trying to kill him. Like, I'm not sure how much of a defense that is. I mean, if he's a trained Marine, like, he should know like what it takes to kill somebody. I agree that he wasn't trying to kill him, because why would you give yourself that kind of liability? But the level of negligence involved, if you're applying deadly force to somebody and you don't even understand that it's deadly force, like, that's a problem. And I think that makes it criminal. So even if you don't call it, I think somebody on panel said intentional homicide was the thing. Well, you don't have to. It can just be homicide, right? Or it can just be manslaughter. But the fact that he was just sort of let go after an interview is concerning to me. And also, there were 3 of them, and people keep talking about that there's 3 of them as if I don't know. I think the fact that there's 3 of them means that he had less reason to do anything like a chokehold. Because if you're talking about a former Marine who's 24 years old, who's in the peak of his fitness, and 2 adult men helping him, it seems like you could hold somebody back with that level of strength behind you without having to go to anything that's going to be life-threatening. Like, I don't even think, when I first heard about this, I thought, okay, what are all of the sort of mitigating circumstances? At this point, I just don't see any.
Okay. Finally, Doobie.
I think there's been a lot of misinformation pushed around about this. So initially we heard that he was held in the chokehold for 15 minutes. Even after he was unconscious, they were still choking him for 15 minutes until the cops got there. I had to fucking go to a shady snuff site to find the full video that's available, right? Because what's being put out in the media is like 1-minute clips or 30-second clips. The longest thing I was able to find on Twitter was like 2 minutes and 20 seconds or something, which still leaves like a minute and a half off, because they said the full video is closer to 4 minutes. So I eventually, after following the instructions of someone on Twitter, say, hey, this is how you find the full video, because it's very hard to find it. I was able to find it on some shady ass snuff site, right? And it doesn't even have his name in it. It's like erratic subway driver passenger choked to death. And in that video, which is 3 minutes and 48 seconds long, and it's the full video that we have available. So the guy's not choking him the entire time, right? You can clearly see his chest moving up and down. You can clearly see that he's aware and he's fine. And then he starts struggling hard, twisting away from the guy. Now you can say, hey, he should be able to hold him, but he's twisting away from him. So they both struggled to, all 3 of them struggled to hold him down, right? And then eventually the guy goes like limp, right? And then at like 2:12, I think it is, the guy that's recording, I think it's the guy that's recording, says, hey, you'd be killing the guy. I think he shot himself. And then they look up and they say, oh, no, that shit was already there before. It's old. And the guy holding his arm is like, oh, no, he's not squeezing anymore. He's just holding him, right? Because he wasn't squeezing his neck at that point. And then like 30 seconds later, they get off him and they start checking on him, make sure his pulse is there, make sure that he's breathing, and he was breathing. And then put him on his side, and they're trying to figure out a way to make sure that he's going to be okay. Right, so this representation that's been out there, that the guy just kept choking him for 15 minutes straight, even after he'd passed out, is just bullshit, right? And it bothers me that it was so difficult for me to find this fucking video, because I think that a lot of this is people pushing a fucking narrative, pushing the race bait narrative again over some bullshit. Whereas I think if you guys watch the actual video, the full video that's available, I don't think you would be making such hard positions on this. I think it's much more reasonable that when he was twisting away from him, he was trying to twist the seats, and the guy was trying to hold on to him from behind. The other guy was trying to hold on to his arms. It could be that he knocked himself out, because the guy's holding onto his neck, and he's like tugging away toward the guy's arms. So he was tightening the hold on his neck himself in that twisting, right? And like I said, as soon as they saw that he was like limp, they let go, and they check him to make sure he's okay. And they all said in multiple articles, they had no idea that he was as hurt as he was, because he was breathing, he had a pulse, and they weren't, like I said, they weren't holding him for like minutes straight while he was unconscious. So I'm going to post that video. I'm gonna post that video in the group DM. It is someone dying, so don't watch it if you're not comfortable with that. But I feel like the way that it's been represented in the media is total bullshit.
Why do you
But,
think
like,
the
that's
only
not even
one
the-
seen
but
the
that-
3 minute and 48 second video? Everybody's seen the 3 minute and 48 second video.
Not true. Absolutely not true.
Okay,
Is
but,
anybody
like,
in this conversation not seen the 3 minute and 48 video?
I watched
so
it.
so Bam. Okay, so
was horrible.
Bam, you've seen the 3 minute 48 video.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens toward the end?
Literally, like
He
you said,
takes
they're-
one deep
they're holding-
breath and then
they're
he-
holding his hands. Like I said, whenever he completely stops moving, he completely goes limp. They hold it like 10 more seconds. They get off of him. They lift his feet up in the
Okay,
air.
then what's the fucking problem?
He
So
does-
they were trying to
they're
restrain
putting-
him.
problem.
They're
They're
putting him.
trying to
They're putting him in the
restrain him.
recovery position. Is what
Yeah,
they're doing.
they're
They're putting him in the
trying to
recovery
restrain him.
position.
I'm gonna post a video.
After
They're trying.
they kill him.
They're restraining the guy. He's struggling to get free.
But-
They still feel like he's a threat. I think reasonably. And then when he goes limp, they get off him. They check,
but the
make sure he's
video
okay. They
starts
put him in
him
the recovery
already
position.
No, this is my thing. Again, I'm not applying any like intent. I think they were trying to do the right thing. But you don't put someone in the chokehold. If you've got like
You absolutely do if it's
you
necessary.
don't. No, you don't.
No, you're not if you're a
again,
marine and
yeah,
you know
and
what
again-
that does.
you
That's
And
to
again,
kill
you can
somebody.
see. And again, you can
No,
see in
I'm
the
saying
video at the start of this when they're laying there, he's not squeezing, he's not choking him. You can see him breathing.
Okay, so do you
Wait a minute. You have no idea about the strength of the
You
hold.
can literally see his chest moving up and down. He's breathing.
It doesn't
totally
matter.
normally.
It doesn't mean that he's being like literally
Because
suffocated.
it's not about.
just-
It's not about
it'll
when.
crush his.
Well, like the issue is a blood choke. It's not about oxygen necessarily. It can
Yeah.
be cutting off like blood
Okay.
flow to his brain.
Okay, so again, he wasn't restricting the guy's oxygen. It doesn't seem like for 10 minutes or 15
Okay, but you
minutes,
can
whatever the
crush
initial story
somebody's
was.
literal
Only takes
throat
30
doing
seconds.
I
that.
know.
Okay,
Okay.
but Benina.
I've
again,
had
you
this
can watch the
hold
video.
on me twice.
It doesn't
Okay,
seem like that happened.
it was ruled.
It
It was
doesn't seem
ruled by
like
the
he was
coroner.
crushing
It was
his
ruled by
fucking
the
throat.
coroner as a homicide.
A homicide.
Do you disagree with
homicide
that?
just means a person killed another person. I understand that.
Yes.
What I'm saying,
No, he
what
killed
I'm
him.
saying,
killed
is if you
him.
watch, I understand he killed him. If you watch the video, it doesn't seem like he's crushing the fucking guy's throat to the point he can't fucking
Okay,
have
but he
oxygen.
did.
No,
So
I don't know about crushing.
So,
throat.
to
I'm
deal,
saying,
to
like,
deal with one thing, either it's a blood choke or he crushed his throat. Which are you guys making? What
Again,
are you guys making?
I say that.
Wait.
I like to, it looked like he was in a blood choke from everything I know about a blood choke.
The
Either
New
it's a
York,
blood
the,
choke
the,
or he
the,
crushed
the
his
New
throat
York,
and he couldn't breathe.
the New York medical examiner, who's the medical examiner that ruled it as a homicide, didn't say his neck was crushed. They said he died from a compression of his neck. There was no.
But it was a homicide. It was caused by
it
another
wasn't- it- Okay,
person.
but what
It's
you're
like getting hit
saying,
by a
what you're
car.
saying happened. What you're saying happened is that the like. I don't know what it's called. I'm not
You're
in
not
the
saying his
medical
trachea
industry,
was
but the trachea wasn't from my understanding. Unless I'm incorrect, if I'm incorrect, go ahead and give me a link. The trachea was not damaged.
Okay, but okay.
Incorrect,
But
correct,
it was
or incorrect?
ruled a homicide. You understand that, though. That doesn't matter.
I
But I'm
know
saying that
what.
the reason that happened is
Why
because-
are we laser focusing on? Okay, look.
You just don't put people in chokehold.
Because it's
That's not how you.
important.
That's not how you.
You
restrain people.
absolutely do if it's
You don't.
necessary. What are
No,
you
the
talking
police
about?
can't even do that. The police can't even do that anymore.
You literally
He's not a
don't care.
fucking cop. He's the guy trying
know,
to
he's
defend
a-
himself
he's a
while being
villain.
restrained.
He was
And that-
trained
and that's
as
why
Are
he
you
knew
saying?
what
Are
was
you
gonna
saying that
happen
if
if you do
somebody?
that.
Wait, stop. Are you saying that if
people,
somebody's
you know how to
attacking
do
another
it.
person, somebody's
No,
attacking another person,
not
it's never
important.
okay to wrap your arms
We
around their neck
never
and pull them
attacked
away
anybody,
ever?
motherfucker.
Yes,
Is
there-
that
you
actually your position? Then you're a
yes,
fucking idiot.
no,
I don't know what to tell you.
no, I'm saying
It's a
even-
stupid thing to say.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna get have order here. So this was fun before. Let's go to Bam, and then let's go to Madeline.
Yeah, the thing is, it's something that you don't know without training. Like there's because situations like this are actually so extremely easy to do around the neck. There's literally you never put someone into a chokehold. If you're by yourself and you're trying to restrain a person, even if you're going around the neck, you're supposed to loop through through their armhole if you can. If there's two people involved, what you're actually supposed to look for is elbow and wrist control. That like, but you'll like, there's never going to be a reasonable way to restrain a person by putting them in a chokehold. If you do so and they end up dying from that hits a level of gross negligence that you could be charged for that. It's not about intent.
Okay,
It's
I gotta
just
say
not-
something else. I forgot to say. I forgot to say this in my opening. Just really quick, please. So another thing that indicates to me that this is a bullshit race bait narrative that they're pushing, and this is the reason that the full video is not being shown on these websites. Right? They're showing like a minute or 30-second clips that don't show when the Marine got off him, that don't show when they were checking to make sure that he was okay. Right?
'Cause he
They're
died.
also showing 10-year-old footage and pictures of him pretending to be Michael Jackson. right? To push this idea that, oh God, he was an innocent street performer, and he was just attacked by this racist white Marine. Why is what he was doing 10 years ago relevant to this fucking story? Why is it every time I see a picture of this guy, he's dressed as Michael Jackson, he's 10 years younger than he was when he died?
Let's go to Matt Latin.
It's just amazing to me that Doobie wants to distinguish what seems like choking someone to death, and will use the exact opposite logic when talking about like someone seeming to be a woman, right? Like literally his logic here, like dissecting what actual choking someone to death is versus like the fact like he literally got choked to death, dude. Like there's no.
Nobody's claiming that he wasn't choked to death. I think you're just not following the conversation.
I'm sorry.
I think
he died in a chokehold.
No, do you think that at any point in my introduction, I disputed the fact that he died in a chokehold?
Okay.
Do you think that I did that anywhere?
So then why? Okay. So then why were you talking about all the nice things that your heroes did for this man after they choked him to death?
Because again, the initial claims that were going around about this was that he was being choked for 10 to 15 minutes straight, even after he fell unconscious and was limp. Please stop. Even after he fell unconscious and was limp. Right. In fact, when I saw Destiny look at this the other day, right, on his fucking stream, he saw the 1 minute video where the guy's like holding his arms. It's like, oh, you can't even tell if he's really conscious at this point. But 10 seconds later, he's struggling and kicking and trying to fight them off. But Destiny didn't see that because most people aren't seeing that. What they're seeing is a guy on his back for 30 seconds with another guy wrapped around his fucking neck, right? Without any of what happened before or after that, which we do have on video, some of it. So this is why I think it's important, because what I'm expressing here is a narrative being painted around this is bullshit.
So
according to local news, this is what happened prior to it. Is witnesses and law enforcement sources said Neely got on the train, started acting very aggressively towards other riders, threatening to harm them.
Mm-hmm.
Police sources told NBC News New York and Neely purportedly told riders on the train that he wanted food and he wasn't taking no for an answer and that he'd hurt anyone on the train. The man got in the subway car, began to say a somewhat aggressive speech, saying he was hungry, he was thirsty, he didn't care about anything, and he didn't care about going to jail. He didn't care that he gets a big life sentence. And that it didn't even matter if he died. The person who said this, Vasquez, said he was scared for his life and believes other in the train were.
Okay, so we just kill people who like say psychotic shit.
Matt Latin, did you get to finish your point, and then we're gonna go back to it in Corey?
So I guess like my point is that regardless of the timestamps and the things, like I understand that you're talking about the coverage, and that is a part of our conversation. And like, yeah, the coverage is a little shoddy, but that usually is what happens when a new story just breaks out, and you're getting more details as the days go on, and we will eventually figure out exactly what happened. But like you're then taking this to the next step and saying, oh, well, they're doing this on purpose. They're trying to be race baity about it or whatever else. And like, I don't think that that's necessarily what's happening. I think it's more along the lines of like, this is a very shocking, fucked up story. Like someone literally got choked out in the fucking subway. And the last time there was a major news story about someone getting choked out, there were riots all across the country. So like people are very, very invested in the story. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's like an actual agenda with the fucking, what different organizations are putting out there.
Media.
Shouldn't even engage with that point. That was stupid.
Right. Can I ask
let's go to Lactoid, Corey, Nia, and Aiko.
So I don't know if this is. I mean, I guess I literally don't know if this is a similar, or identical. But when I'm hearing the reactions, it reminds me a lot of the Kyle Rittenhouse situation, where you have some people who are like, hey, hold on a minute. We just have a video of one point, right, the shooting, and we don't have a video of a whole bunch beforehand. We're hearing some reports of like threats of violence. We're hearing some reports of like reasons why people might do this, but we don't know. And instead of saying, well, it hinges on that, right? It hinges on like the precursor to this. There's like the immediate spark to rage, which in the Kyle Rittenhouse situation turned to be completely wrong, right? And I'm concerned that in this situation, it's also going to turn out to be completely wrong, especially if this guy was walking around threatening people with violence. And then, so you have somebody threatening someone with violence, and then here comes like the other thing, which is, well, chokeholds are just unreasonable. Or, with Kyle, it was, well, you could have just shot him in the leg, right? The sort of like ignorance of how difficult it is to actually stop somebody intent on hurting you, and how incredibly difficult it is in a situation like that to act quickly and effectively. Chokeholds comparatively are relatively safe compared to shooting somebody, right? Yes, there's a risk of death. There's a risk of death to punching someone in the face. I can show you videos of people dying after being decked in the face, right? But generally, this doesn't happen, right? If somebody, if he was walking around threatening people on the bus, like threatening their lives, right? And there was a credible threat there, just like the person chasing after Kyle was like a credible threat. Yes, like action, you take actions to defend yourself.
But he
and
wasn't
others.
a credible threat till he touched his gun.
So
that's when he became the credible threat.
Again,
I don't care.
so
No,
if the video shows him like behaving in a threatening manner towards other people, where we would all
There's
watch
no
it,
video of
where,
it.
I know, but if there was, I suppose, right, just like with Kyle, maybe if the video justifying the whole thing came out like later, significantly later than the first video of just like painting him in the worst light possible, and if this comes out. Where all of us here would be like, well, fuck, dude. I mean, he really was being like very aggressive and threatening their lives. And this guy was like, oh shit, like he's gonna like actually like this guy has done before, like might actually, you know, start fucking wailing on somebody, right? Might start actually attack an old woman. Might actually start like being aggressive. And I need to stop. I need to stop this person, right? And
he was already subdued.
I think Doobie, when you say he's already subdued. I think Doobie's, I fully agree with his analysis of the situation here, where if you have somebody like locked down and they're still struggling and they're still fighting you, right, and they've already proven to be a threat, I'm not letting go. I'm not letting them go so they can get up and kick me. I'm not letting them go so they can get up.
But letting them go and continuing to
Three
choke them out.
people.
Yes, and he's threatening a whole trainload of people beforehand, potentially.
Shit happens.
What do you mean? And the reason the video is hard to find, I think that's also telling, right? Why is it always so hard to find the full fucking information?
Honestly, it was a quick Google search, but I just have a question just to engage with you. Is there something that could happen beforehand that could, like, if there's something that, like, a piece of information we could find that makes it to where if you try to subdue someone, because I'm not anti-subduing or not anti trying to do that, but I'm saying that you could subdue someone and it reach a point in, like, intentional or not, where like, oh, okay, there was a level of harm caused that you're now responsible for. Because you use the example like you could punch someone and die. I agree. If you punch someone and they die, do you think that there's a chance that, like, oh, you might have some criminal consequences for this?
It depends on the situation. If somebody's like, if somebody's threatening the life of somebody, and like, and it's a credible threat, and so in order to stop the threat, you're like, oh shit, like I got to stop this guy, and so like you're only like your method there is by like hooking him so he falls down or whatever and is no longer a threat. That, like, given the situation, that could be reasonable. And a chokehold's probably even more reasonable than that because you're not doing a striking pattern. You're trying to actually just actively subdue the person.
Why can't you just pull his arms back?
You're cutting off.
Yeah, why couldn't you just shoot him in that? I've heard one part. Why couldn't you just shoot him in the gun?
No, I'm
one
saying
guy
why
told me
can't
that
you just
about
hold his
Kyle
arms
Rittenhouse. Why
back?
couldn't you just shoot
If
him in
you're
the feet?
literally pulling him behind, why don't you have your arms? It's not like
No,
it's
why don't you
one
just shoot him in the
person.
feet? Why couldn't you just shoot him in the feet?
No, it's not the same argument. Actually,
why couldn't you just shoot him in the feet?
You're talking about shooting someone with a gun.
What do you mean?
Yeah, with a gun. Why couldn't you just shoot somebody in the feet if they're running at you? Why would you shoot him in the chest? Why couldn't you shoot him in the feet?
Let's not.
More guns?
I actually don't want to go down the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. I saw your hand. But yeah, I don't want to go down the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. Let's move on. Let's go to Corey, Nina, Aiko.
Yeah, so I'm going to engage a little bit more with what you just went through, Lactoid, and I guess Doobie as well, because you touched upon that as well. In terms of yeah, in the video, and just like you said, there are points in the video that
the guy was clearly fine.
That Neely is alive and like his chest is he's breathing. But even then, so I've never been in that position, and I hope that never is the case. But I think it's understandable that the person is struggling, and he has he's not under arrest, and we don't know all the facts leading up to that. But the fact that he's struggling is not, I don't think, is a sign of anything. He's allowed to struggle. He's allowed to resist and fight for his life at that point because his life is in danger, or at least I can see, at least as best I can, in that mindset of something is being cut off at my neck level. I want to struggle and escape. And in that context, when you, especially if you're a Marine, and again, what iCal brought up of I would hope you're trained in deadly force and appropriate use of force and deadly force, and that when you subdue, he's on the ground, and there's two other people above him, I think the odds are in their favor that even if he's struggling, unless he has some sort of weapon that's not visible or something else, you can ease up and pretty much not continue to kill them.
It's ridiculous.
So to respond, I'm
If
not.
he's holding
I'm not
both his
to
arms, how
respond.
could he
I'm
tap out
not
of the
saying.
chokehold?
To respond, I'm not saying that like by struggling that he was necessarily being unreasonable. Perhaps, yeah, most people might react that way if they're in a chokehold, for sure. But again, the question is if we're going to be condemning the person doing the chokehold, what is the situation that he's in? Okay, let me paint you a situation, Corey, and I want you to just imagine you're in that situation. Okay, you're in a bus, and let's just say you have a guy. And maybe some people on the bus know he has a long history of being violent, okay? And he starts aggressively threatening people's lives right in the bus. And he starts really getting in people's faces, throwing his jacket down and like jumping at them, okay? And some people are getting up to try to leave because they really feel uncomfortable, but he's kind of following them a little bit, or maybe some people can't really get past him. And then you're sitting there and this guy gets in your face and he's doing the same thing. And then this Marine comes up behind him, puts him in chokehold and takes him down. Do you think that the actions from the Marine at that point are reasonable? Do you think that's reasonable?
So the action itself of like restraining them is reasonable, but that's an evolving situation, right?
It's an evolving situation. So he restrains him, he puts him in the chokehold, takes him down, and then the guy keeps on fighting, right? And once he stops fighting, only like what was it, Doobie? Like 15 seconds later, like
Yeah,
he's laying on his side.
like 30 seconds later.
Yeah,
and
less than
in that 30 seconds, again, in that 30 seconds, he's still breathing. And they only let up because if the guy that's filming, or the guy next to the guy filming, says I think he shot himself. You might be killing him. So then they check him, and the other guy says, yeah, he's not squeezing anymore. Meaning the Marine's not squeezing his neck anymore. The other guy's still holding his arms, so they check his arms, and eventually say, oh yeah, get off him. We'll make sure he's okay. I think he's out. They thought he was just unconscious, right?
Sure,
So
but
they
his
get
good-
off him,
their good
and they
intentions
put him in the
are
recovery position because they weren't intending to kill him. They weren't like gonna mercilessly choke him forever, no matter what, right? They just wanted him to stop fighting, stop being a threat, so they could get off him.
Sure, but that doesn't matter. Like we keep pointing to like they were good people, and that's not
No. It's not about whether or not they're
If
good.
but I'm saying if you're doing something incorrectly, if you're choking someone and you have their arms, like they
Sometimes
they
it's okay to choke
they
people.
can
It's
never
not
tap
being
out.
reasonable. That's the question.
No,
If I
it's
can
not
just
being
say-
reasonable that you choke someone and holding their arm. They can never end the dispute.
No, in the
They can't
video,
tap out.
in the video, despite having his
They were
hands
waiting
like
for the
held,
fucking cops to get
he was
there.
like yanking his
So
hands
you
and
just choked
twisting
those
himself.
You don't need to choke somebody to wait for
No.
the cops to get there. You
Okay,
psycho.
so
What are you
he literally
talking
could have
about?
just waited until the cops together, which is what they were trying to do. Well, when the video starts, he's already laying there. The guys are not choking him. You can see his chest moving up and down. He's breathing normally. All they were gonna do is wait for the cops to get there, right? And then he starts fighting and resisting.
Yeah, this whole thing is fucking killing me, but Corey.
Well, so again, I don't know all the logistics of this type of maneuver and like whether the chest moving up and down is an indication of anything. And like from what I understand, like there's multiple ways of like restricting blood flow and breathe. Like I don't know. I'm gonna plead ignorance.
I understand.
How long
But-
does it take?
What I would say,
You're, like, this is a good point.
what I would say is that if the person filming, who from what I understand is like some freelance journalist, is concerned that, hey, you're killing this person, I would hope that at some point the alarm bells of the Marine is also going off.
They
like,
did
hey,
like 30 seconds later.
well,
Less
so
than 30
if
seconds.
you're delayed by 30 seconds from a freelance journalist, you're probably like an idiot. I don't
Okay,
know what else to say.
the journalist
It
isn't
takes-
feeling what he's feeling though. Like that's
Hold
the
on,
thing.
wait, hold on.
1 minute
Hold on,
for there to be
so-
brain damage from
Wait,
being
hold on.
like,
Wait 1 second. Stop. So they did it under 1 minute, by the way. So the reason the guy thought he might be
know that.
dying is he had shit on his pants, or like some dark brown spot on his pants, and they said, oh no, that was there before, right? So that's what raised the alarm in the first place with this like freelance journalist dude, right? So then the other guy says, no, he's fine, he's okay, he's not squeezing anymore, so they're not choking him anymore, right? They were just holding him, right? And then when they realize that he's like limp,
no
then they get off. It's literally in the video.
No, you can't tell how much they were or weren't choking. You can't tell.
It is
pressure
literally
via
in the video.
You said that
can't-
like,
is
oh, they
watch
watched
the
at this
video.
point, and then they choked them harder. You don't know any of that.
It is literally in the video.
no, it's not. You can't.
Yes,
There's
it
no
is in
show
the
of
video.
force. Like you don't. You
Oh,
can
I see. So you think the guy that was holding his arms, who's helping
All
on
you're
journal,
saying-
might
all
be
you're- the
lying.
only thing you're
Might have
going
been
by is
lying.
the space
Actually, this
between-
was a conspiracy to
No,
assassinate
it's
this
not
fucking
a
homeless dude.
conspiracy. It's like he
Then
could
what the
be
fuck are you
not
saying?
No, it could literally be he was holding him tight, and then he was releasing a little bit.
Yeah,
and hold,
the
like,
video
it's
literally
not the
shows when
same-
he's
it's-
already
Oh, I see. So you think
restrained.
that he was like choking him, then releasing him, then choking him
I
again?
mean, like
based
it's
on
a
what?
struggle.
What are these
so like
fucking
it's not
fantasies
going to be
you're
a
making up?
consistent amount.
What
of
we
force.
have is what's
Are
in
you
the
fucking
video, and what's in
stupid?
the video is pretty clear.
Are you
I think
fucking
any
stupid?
reasonable person,
No,
not
But
even
you don't.
fucking
We know it's
stupid.
not clear because you don't have the
The rest
context
It was
of
pretty clear to
it.
any reasonable
Homie,
person. It was
he's
clear. to
out
anyone.
Wait,
there.
you're
Yeah.
right, Nino.
When the
We
video
don't have the
starts.
context to it, and that's the important element here that people who are outraged just seem to be missing.
We don't have
Right,
any.
but he's
we don't
already
know how
getting
much-
choked
what
when
this
the video
content's hanging on.
starts.
The
What do
only
you
thing-
mean?
I really do want to jump into this.
What
But
do
like,
you
the only thing we know is that someone died. Like that's it. Like someone died. We don't know how much force was
Then
being
how are
applied
you
to his
guys
neck.
freaking out
How
about it?
much force? No, you're
Because
the
it-
one
because
who's
it's gross negligence.
So really quickly, so I just put in the group chat. Like I took me like 3 minutes to find this. A bunch of different videos of people choking out other people who are being violent threats. And if you guys would say that in these situations,
Is this
please,
like
in
your
these
kink or
situations,
something?
no, in these situations where someone was violently assaulting another person, in one situation trying to rape somebody, you Bam said it's never okay to choke somebody.
Right.
If you would still believe that in all these
But
other
if an
situations,
assault's already taken
then I
place,
just
it
think you're a
didn't
fucking
happen.
idiot. I don't know what to tell you.
They wouldn't assault anyone. They're just
You
being
said it's
annoying.
never okay to choke somebody. You said you never
You know
choke
what? We
somebody.
should choke out like TikTok pranksters. Okay, I stand by that.
It's literally never okay. It's the reason
It
why
is
the
absolutely okay. What are you talking about? So if somebody's raping somebody, you wouldn't choke them to get them off?
No, that's not
You do reverse judo kick.
That's not what happened.
ridiculous. That's so stupid.
I'm
That's
saying
so
you
dumb.
actually do what people who are
If you're gonna choke somebody to get them off,
dislocate every finger.
Raise
That
your
is
hand if
so
you've ever
dumb.
dealt with a person in crisis.
Yeah, I have. And what you're saying is fucking ridiculous.
And you choked them out, didn't you?
You're
That
saying
was
you're
it.
saying that if,
That was
if
the-
you're gonna
that was
choke
the
somebody,
violence.
it's you
gotta pay
automatically
first
intend
for
to
that.
kill them. That's the only something you do
No,
when you want to kill
Okay, that's not
somebody.
what anyone's saying, Doobie.
What the fuck are you talking
You're
about?
the one who's saying that.
You're the only
Okay,
again.
You absolutely say that.
Keep
Can we
You
put
said you
Doobie
don't
back
do
on-
it to somebody who
Sorry,
did
sorry.
it.
We
Wait,
are gonna have
can
to-
we
Guys, we
can we-
gotta move on. We gotta move on. It's Nina's turn. Aiko. After that.
Wait, me or him?
Nina first, and Aiko.
Oh, okay. Can we rephrase this in a little bit? Do you think, like, if we're talking about in terms of deadly force, use of deadly force is kind of like the conversation we're having, right? So, do you think that it's okay to shoot somebody who's being like disruptive and loud
No.
and like threatening you?
Oh, it depends. It depends how
Depends how
threatening
they're
they're
threatening you.
No, I'm sorry, not like directly threatening. Just what exactly he did, where he was saying like he also was having a mental breakdown. Do you think you should shoot somebody who's just having a mental breakdown because
Yeah,
they're just like kind of being like weird?
there's like a reasonable level of escalation, right? So you need to escalate toward killing somebody.
Okay, so what would that be?
So first you ask them to stop, ask them to not to make the threats.
Okay, did that happen?
If they don't, they continue. I think it's reasonable to restrain them.
Did
if
that
they're saying
happen?
they're about to go fucking crazy and attack people.
Wait, no. Did that happen?
According to the witnesses, yes.
Restraining is step one.
Yeah.
Sorry? That they asked them to not do that? No, that's not. You're just lying.
Wait, hold on. So you
I read a
think
bunch of
that if
articles,
someone,
my dude.
Please stop screaming
Okay.
that you're going to kill me, sir. Please end this now.
So you think that if somebody walks into
So
a
they
train
should have
full
been
of
they should have been able to
and
shoot
it's
him.
like and it's like it is especially in
They
in the
should have
fucking,
been
like,
able to
in-
shoot him.
especially in the atmosphere we have right now with mass shootings and shit. You think that in New York where there was a mass shooting in a subway recently?
Do you think
you
that's
think if somebody
usually
walks
how,
into a
like,
train
a
and
lot
says,
of-
"Hey, I don't give a fuck. I don't care if I die." Blah blah blah. And it's
with
like,
no
it's like
weapon
threatening
on
these people with
him?
violence.
With no weapon
Do you
on
think-
him, he's not
how do they
actually
know he has
physically
no
assaulted
how do
anyone.
they know he has no weapon on him? He could have a weapon
Well,
in his
they
pocket. He
clearly
could have a
figured
knife
it
in his
out
pocket.
once there was 3 people
Yeah, so
like
I
going
think- so
around him and he didn't
obviously-
use a weapon.
Okay, but at that point, right?
He
it
didn't
is-
brandish
it
a
is
weapon.
escalated. It is escalated.
How do
due
I
to
know that
his
you don't have a
threats.
weapon?
It is escalated. I do have a weapon. It is escalated due to his threats, right? To a point where if they release him, he's probably going to be violent because he's been
There's no
expressing
proof
he's
of
going to be
that.
violent.
There's no proof of that.
He's been
Doobie. You're
expressing he's
being
going to be
very
violent the
silly. You're
entire
being
time.
very, very silly. No,
He's
no,
been
Doobie, you're being very
expressing
silly.
he's gonna be violent
So
the
I'm saying,
entire
should
time.
you be able to
So
shoot?
all
Okay,
you
if
can
he's, if
do
he, so
is
if no,
trust
hold on.
that he's going to be
Doobie,
violent because he said
please.
he's going to be
It's supposed to
violent.
be my time to talk. Please.
Unfortunately.
You're fair enough. But like, okay, so you're telling me that you should just be able to shoot him.
That isn't what I said. That's not at all what I
So
said.
you're thinking escalation of deadly force is not, you understand that shooting somebody is deadly force, right? It's the same classification.
Okay, I understand that, but obviously,
So
if
can you
someone
answer
says,
my
"Hey,
question?
I want to punch you," I don't think it's okay.
Don't avoid my Doobie.
I
Don't
already-
you fucking
I'm not-
avoid my question. Answer it.
If you the fact that you think
Answer
you have a
it.
question that deserves avoiding is fucking ridiculous. Okay, so I've already answered
What?
this.
So you're just gonna?
I don't
No,
think it's
you
okay
didn't.
to just
I'm
shoot
asking
him
you to
outright.
answer my.
Obviously,
Okay, so
no.
all right, you're gonna just
Depending on
obfuscate
his
it because you're
threats.
too
I'm not
fucking
obfuscating
cowardly to
anything.
answer it. Got
I've
it.
answered
Got
it
it.
directly.
You're
I
too
don't
cowardly
think
to
it's
fucking
okay.
It could have been
You're
justified.
shooting him out of nowhere.
Go ahead, Leftoid,
The
or I
shooting
coward,
could
or
have been
whoever was
justified. We
next.
don't know.
Let's
You
go
fucking
to
coward.
The shooting
Hey,
could have been justified. We don't know, right?
Doobie is a scared little boy. Thank you for declaring this,
Yeah.
Nina. We'll move on to Aiko. He can't handle you. We're gonna move on to Aiko. Mad Latin has been bursting at the seams, and then we'll go to Corey.
Yeah, so I just want to be clear. Like, I certainly wouldn't say that a chokehold can never be used. Just like I would never say that deadly force can never be employed. Like there are obviously instances where it's allowed, but in most states and of course specifically in New York, there are standards for when it's okay to employ deadly force, and that is when your own life is in danger. And I mean, I'm certainly open to like new facts or new evidence. Like Lactoid said, another video could come out clearing him. Well, he's Rittenhouse as an example. I would use George Floyd as an example, where I kept hearing that something like that would drop and clear Chauvin at any minute, any day now, and that never happened. So that sword cuts both ways. And I would say this: if your life is not in danger, or the life of somebody else is not in imminent danger, then at that point you can't use deadly force. I think you could maybe make a case in terms of restraining him the way that they did initially, but once you have him down and on the floor with 3 strapping men, like able to continue to keep him restrained in that way, I think the odds of him being able to kill somebody in that train, which again, that's the standard, your life has to be threatened, your life has to be in danger. I don't think he was a threat to anyone's life at that point, horizontal with 3 men on top of him.
They were struggling to contain him.
Yeah, and they
these
could
three
continue to
these
struggle.
three men
like,
these three
with
men were not
no weapon?
these three men were not doing it with ease. They were struggling to contain him.
Yeah, but
They were
ease
trying
is
to
not
hurt
the
him.
standard.
How would it be anybody?
And keep in mind, this is because
Yeah, like,
they
literally
were trying
through
not to hurt him.
anybody.
If they just wanted to stop him, they could have beat the shit out of him right there on the floor. But they were trying not to hurt him.
That would have
actually.
been preferable to
until
deadly force.
until the
for sure.
motherfucker decided to.
That could have
do
been deadly force, right?
Oh, and also the
him
video
getting
you
his
sent
arms
me,
back and punching
he
somebody
definitely
could have
put
been
his
deadly
I
arms
mean, he
force.
was also in an armbar, right? Like they could, like if there was only so much he could do
Yeah, they
without
could've snapped his
breaking his
legs,
own
of
arm.
course.
In the UFC,
So-
they don't even let you do that for that long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and he could have reached for a suicide vest. For the button on the
Because they tap
suicide
out.
vest, it could have blown people up too. I mean, that's another thing that could have happened. But yeah,
He was not on the
Uh,
verge of murdering
is-
anybody.
yeah, this is man, I really want to jump in here. Bruce,
metaphor.
Mad Latin,
I'm dying.
who's been
Dying!
here, and then Corey.
Oh God, no! Like it's just like so ridiculous that we're like they use. Okay, it's very clear that regardless of what their intent was, they used too much force. Like that is without a doubt what happened because the man died. And then we're getting into all the semantics about like, oh, there's this throat crush, and like, oh, it was only for X amount of minutes, even though we can't tell from the footage in the video actually how long blood was not flowing to his brain. You can't actually fucking tell. Like you just can't. So
Hmm.
like if you use a negligent amount of force and you kill someone, there's consequences for that. Like that's just a thing, and it has to be. And we can talk and sing praises about how they saved everyone on the subway and all this other shit. But at the end of the day, they killed someone they weren't supposed to. Now it's fine if you want to be a vigilante and you want to like, try to help people out on the subway when someone's throwing trash and shouting crazy shit on the subway, but you can't kill someone while doing it. That's the bottom line. It's not race baiting to say, hey, this is a fucking problem. Like it's just I don't understand why this is even a discussion.
Yeah,
Like honestly, like I'm just fucking okay.
I mean, I said
Yeah, I
from
mean,
the very
he-
beginning.
it's
I
like
said for the very beginning.
manslaughter.
It's probable manslaughter, without being
Yeah,
given
we agree
any
on that.
reason for self-defense.
Cool. Great.
Yeah, let's go
That was
to
good about.
Corey.
Lactoid, I want to return to the example that you proposed to me of like, yeah, I'm on the bus and someone's in my face. I'm not saying they're being like very aggressive,
They're
or
threatening
whatever.
your life.
Yeah, so let's say and that obviously, you're way more legal minded than I am, but obviously threat of like there's a spectrum of threat of force and what exactly that means and the threshold. So let's say, yeah, the person's in my face and they say, whatever, I'm gonna F you up. Am I now justified in using some sort of like force or restraint?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. If someone
Okay,
gets in
so-
your face and is like, I'm gonna kill you, right?
No.
At that
no.
Okay,
So-
because
no,
that's the
so that-
reports
yeah,
of what he
yeah.
said. Honestly,
Yeah,
at
no,
that
but-
point, you might be
well,
justified
that's-
using like just a
I'm-
gun at that point.
Yeah, so I'm
straight
just trying to tease out sort of at least somewhat like where the line is. I'm like, yeah, would someone explicitly say I'm going to kill you? But what if they just say I'm going to F you up? Does that meet any sort of threshold for you?
I mean, for me, if someone gets in my face like saying I'm gonna like F you up, I don't know why F you. I'm gonna fuck you up, right? I
Yeah.
think you're perfectly justified in just like, yeah, throwing a right hook, clocking them, knocking them
Okay,
out.
so-
And if they
yeah,
wind
okay.
up dying, like,
Yeah.
yeah, you didn't intend to kill them, And it's not like that reasonable to assume that someone's going to die from a like one punch or a chokehold or anything like that. But like you were acting in defense of yourself. That was the reasonable action.
Okay. So presumably, rewinding to last week, if the reports are true, Steven Crowder's wife was justified in, let's say, decking him in the face.
Yeah, whoa, this is perfect. If Steven Crowder got up, walked over to his wife and said, "I'm gonna fucking kill you," and then like I'm gonna fuck you, or put it like I'm gonna fuck you up.
He said,
and then,
I'm gonna fuck you up.
I'm gonna fuck you up, and then like was really close and like coming at her when he said that, she would 100% be justified in like grabbing a vase or grabbing something and just fucking danging him over the head. 100%, no doubt.
Fair enough.
15 minutes after.
Okay.
And then if he died,
no.
And then if he died, I don't think she should be charged with murder.
If he dies, he dies.
Well, comparing it to like one swing versus like an extended situation that unfortunately they didn't navigate through. I think is the difference. Like the initial, the initial putting them down is fine. Like even though, like I said, you just shouldn't put people in chokeholds. But if it happens, if someone dies, like now you probably have some liability there. Like
not always. So again, we have the longest segment we have is like what 3 minutes and 47 seconds, right? And in what I've seen there, right? Yes, he's totally got him in a chokehold for sure. But I'm also seeing a lot of struggling and I'm seeing a lot of fighting. And if you're holding somebody and they're really like fighting at you, I'm not going to let them go, especially if they just threaten violence.
You're going to tell me if somebody was going to subdue you that you're just not going to struggle, like especially if you're going through a psychological
episode? If I threatened to kill somebody and somebody subdued me, what do you want me to say? I might be. If I was that maniacal, I might be fighting back, but that wouldn't make me justified.
No, it's your
smart. I'm saying
if you're being held down by 3 dudes and the police are coming, if you're still fighting back, you're probably fucking crazy.
That's not
okay.
No, you're thinking you're gonna die.
He didn't want to fight no more.
Yeah, okay. There's two big problems here.
There's a typical way that you tell someone you're done in a chokehold. You tap out. You say, "Okay, I'm done." He can't. He doesn't have the ability to do that. He doesn't have the ability to speak because they're literally holding his arms.
Look.
So again, it was a like it. You probably even have a different situation if his arms are free and it's just one guy. Like if it's one person containing him. But the fact that you have 3 people, it shows that like, oh, okay, there was a like. I'm not asking for person. I'm asking for like shoot a bullet across a mile and hit someone in the foot. I'm saying that like this situation. These guys with great intentions didn't have the proper training to escalate to properly subdue him, and they didn't properly navigate through the channels of of de-escalation of the situation. Because of that he reaches a level of gross negligence that probably leads to some level of criminal action.
Madeline, you want to respond?
Even manslaughter.
I just want to add to this, like holding someone down and putting them in a chokehold are 2 different things. Like, yes, we're using the chokehold to keep them down. But like at a certain point, you don't actually have to do that. Now, I've been choked out in this way twice. Like I've had this happen to me where I've been in that position where I was like that hold and
consensual or non-consensual?
Non-consensual. I was not happy. I woke up and then the motherfucker, the second guy, tried to do it again, and I was ready for it the second time.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, you looked off screen like someone's gonna come try to do it again right now. Like,
no,
you looked off screen like motherfucker.
Because this fucker, so the guy like came across, and the second time I kicked back. I flipped over the guy and I was like ready to choke him out, but I didn't know the technique. All I had was like a wire. Anyway,
sure.
It's fine, whatever. The thing is, when you're in that hold, like I lasted something like 10 seconds before I was out cold. Like the hold was like really tight. It was really
absolutely passed out.
I was unconscious. I woke up. My head was swimming. I was like, something really horrible just happened to me. I don't know what. And I'm just laying there looking around, and I see like a familiar face. It's at a party, and I'm like, the fuck what's going on? And then I would remember that someone choke me out, and then I sprang up and I was like, where the fuck is the asshole?
Yeah, a proper blood choke, this person should be out within 15 seconds if held properly.
Right. So like I was knocked the fuck out. Like I was out cold, no chance, like whatsoever.
He didn't hold it like that.
This guy wasn't.
Yeah.
So the other guy was not. But my point here is that actually, it's entirely possible that there's moments where he stopped flailing, he was knocked out, and he came to immediately afterwards, and they started doing the thing again. Like that, we don't actually know.
He got freaked out. He was like, "Where the fuck am I?"
Because like the thing is, like I was only out for like a little bit. Like I come to, and I was like, everyone, like it's not like I'm knocked out for like an hour. I was knocked out for like seconds, maybe a minute at the most, right? So like as far as we know, like what actually happened with the guy down there is that he could have been out cold a few times during that 3-minute 45-second video. As far as we know, we have no fucking clue. First of all,
wait, can I ask you really quick?
The second thing,
I want to ask you
well,
really
no,
quick
he's
about that
struggling
story.
when he wakes up.
About that story, Giga.
No, he doesn't go limp repeatedly
about
throughout the
that
video.
story.
You guys are building
Yeah,
shit that
yeah,
doesn't
he
exist.
doesn't go limp. That's right. You can watch the video.
You don't have to go
But-
limp
but-
to fall
but
asleep.
Giga, I
dude.
wanted to ask.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You can be twisting and okay, sure. I want to ask you, Giga, when you said I think you just said something. When you said, and then I woke up and then I got up, like, who the fuck did that? Did you go and attack that guy that tried to put you in a chokehold?
Not. I didn't attack him. No,
Okay, you're saying that pretty carefully.
Well, you just say you try to flip over his back and choke him. You
The
just said
second
that
time, the second time that the situation happened, it was self-defense. So the guy tried to choke me out, and then I kicked myself over him, and then.
Okay, but the first time you said that you jumped up and you're like, "Where the fuck is he?" Like you literally just said.
we had some words. Yes, that happened.
Okay.
Was
You
there
just
a
jumped
physical-
up, sir. I don't
Was
mind.
there
I
a
don't like you
physical
doing that.
altercation? I'm not gonna get into.
But if
No, write a
someone's
strongly
if
worded
someone's
letter.
if someone's already inclinated towards a physical altercation, they've already made this very known that they're inclinated towards a physical altercation, and they wake up similar to you did and jump on their feet, what do you think their reaction is going to be?
You mean like we're talking about like whether they're going to violently respond to the fact that they were knocked out? Is that the point?
Yes, that's my point.
I mean,
yes.
that's absolutely valid, but like here's my other in addition though, I wasn't being held down by 3 guys though. So like even if my intent was to get in a physical altercation with whoever and I got to jump up and find them, it was because
I'm not saying this is done perfectly. I'm not saying this is done perfectly.
What
I'm not saying this
is
is done perfectly.
Well, what I'm saying is like in my situation, I was knocked out, the guy left, I woke up and I was like, what the fuck? Versus this guy who was knocked out, woke up and he was still being held down by 3 dudes. Like it's very fucking different. Right?
Okay.
Like,
Okay. For one, I'm not saying this is done perfectly. For 2, I've already said this is a probable manslaughter. For 3, I can understand the thought process of the guy's back, and now he's trying to struggle again, trying to get up because the guy was obviously already violent and angry before he got choked out. I can only presume he was more violent and angry when he realized he got choked out.
Entirely possible.
So
Absolutely, for sure.
like I can understand the thought process in these people's minds as they're like, he's really trying to get out now, and
you don't
this
wanna-
is going to turn into a
you don't-
really bad situation if we just let go.
I understand the logic of wanting to re-choke him out or whatever if he was already choked out and knocked out and then he's come to or whatnot. I also can imagine that someone could also realize that if you keep choking someone out over and over again, even in self-defense, you're probably going to kill him eventually, yeah? Like there's a little bit of like,
Yes.
man, I can't keep knocking him the fuck out. Like you just hold the fucker down at a certain point because he's like if he's knocked out and he's coming to,
that happened.
And we don't even know if that happened. We don't know.
We don't even know if that happened. But like the point is,
no, so
like,
this idea that he could attack, they didn't let him tap out. Like he has his hands free multiple
His
times
hands
in that
aren't
video.
free at any point in that video.
Yeah,
that's
and, like,
not true. You need to watch
yeah,
the
His
video.
hands are.
so
that guy, the guy,
We
You need
watched
to-
the
you need to watch
video.
the-
entire video.
It doesn't
You
matter
need
if
to
you
watch
can
it.
tap out
You
or
need to
not.
watch it again because his
It's-
hands are literally free at
Okay,
multiple
so
times.
you're telling me, okay,
look at one and look at
Look
three
at
now.
37 seconds. Hold on. Look at 37 seconds. The entire
Phoebe,
arms.
are you telling me that you could not have
his entire arms
disarmed this
free.
man
He's not
without?
trying to tap or say, "Hey,
without
I'm
putting
done."
him in a
He's trying to
chokehold?
grab at shit and pull himself away.
Sure,
Yeah, because he
fine,
thinks he's
but,
gonna
like,
die.
But like at a certain point, you don't know the person, so we don't know what anyone's intent is. All we know is that there's 3-on-1, and you can physically restrain someone with 3 dudes versus 1. Like they are clearly doing it already. They've already probably knocked him out. All they have to do is just hold him down. That's it. They don't have to
That's what
choke
they're
him
trying
out.
to do, but he's struggling to get away.
I wanna jump in here. But before I want to ask a quick question to our friend Lactoid. Lactoid, can you give us the TLDR definition of manslaughter?
I mean, manslaughter would
He's
be.
not a criminal or.
I mean, so I took criminal law though. So I mean, manslaughter would be like, the classic example I can think of is like drunk driving, where you don't intend to kill somebody, and you're not. It's not like you're acting in the heat of the moment. It's not like you're planning it out, but you're doing an action that like you're doing an action unjustly, right? That reasonably could lead to somebody's death, and then that happens, right? And then if that happens, then it's manslaughter.
Okay.
So like another example could be like
the definition of it is the crime of killing a human being with. I think you're right, basically, but the crime of killing a human being without malice, aforethought, or otherwise in circumstances not amounting to murder.
Yeah, because intentional manslaughter is a thing, but it's
Yeah.
That would
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
He was right.
That,
He was
that,
right.
that would be. That would be
It
first degree
is-
murder.
no
Is-
intentional manslaughter is a thing.
That would be
using-
first
No,
degree.
that-
Yeah,
No,
intentional.
it's not. Those are two can be.
Okay,
treated
I don't care. So then to Doopy and Lactoid is using a chokehold. Do you think that is it's reasonable to think that a person might die from that, especially since there's been a big discourse within the country, like a very extremely public, years-long discord about people being choked out?
The big distinguishing factor here is whether or not, so for manslaughter, the action you're doing that you reasonably could believe that could lead to somebody's death. I mean, first of all, it needs to be unjustified, right? If it's justified, then you're off unjustified self-defense. But then B, I don't know how reasonable it is to expect that somebody dies from a chokehold, right? I understand it happens. Like, you also have it happen where people die from getting punched in the face. I've seen the cases where like somebody decks somebody and they actually wind up dying.
Yeah.
And most of that is actually manslaughter.
I hear you, and I know that, right? Like there was that a high school player in a soccer match, and he like decks the fucking referee, and because he's a stupid kid, and he kills him. Like he's just so strong, he just like fucking kills him. But like I don't care about that. I'm saying that there is a difference between that punch, which yes can kill someone, and like restricting a person's blood flow or airflow or both. Correct?
Prime, I want to fully agree with you that if prior to this incident and prior to the chokehold, the guy did not have sufficient reason to put this guy in a chokehold, I think manslaughter fits.
What? One at a time, right? The chokehold itself. We can talk about the context in a second, but the chokehold itself, is it reasonable for a chokehold where it involves restricting the airways or blood flow or both? Right? Is it reasonable to believe that might kill someone?
Only if you hold it after they stop moving for a while.
Okay, all right. And the problem with this video, I haven't gotten to see the whole video that Doobie posted, because if I do it, it's gonna place out and it's gonna fuck everything up. So I haven't gotten to see that, so I'll put that caveat there. I've seen other pieces of the video, I just haven't seen that one. So yeah, you got me at a disadvantage. But even then, like assuming the first the cameraman is to be believed, this whole thing lasted for 15 minutes. So even that doesn't give us the entire context. Like what Bad Latin was saying before about a person being knocked out and then, or this person being knocked out and then coming to and then being knocked out again, could have entirely happened within like the rest of however long this interaction lasted. So that's still a possibility, right? And like Doobie, you keep using this thing like, well, he kept struggling. Well, yeah, a guy's gonna struggle. That's fine. It's not illegal to fucking struggle, right? Especially when you are being choked out. It's a perfectly human reaction, and then you use that as a justification as to why this should have continued that particular hold, when he could have simply let go of his neck. Right? He could have just done that. That was an action, and he would have still had full control, and he had help. But I don't even care about the other two people that were there. But still, he still had full control of this individual. So why is it that the fact that he struggled is evidence that he should still chokehold him rather than hold him?
Okay, so I think my dogs are barking. So yeah, I think that the idea that he could have let go of the chokehold and maintain full control is kind of silly. Like I don't know how you could say that he would do that. If he puts his hands anywhere near his chest,
Two other people.
Two other people.
puts his hands
Full
puts his hands-
Nelson.
Wait, people can dive in a full Nelson. You can choke to death like that.
Holy shit.
Wait, hold on.
He didn't
Is
do
that true? Is that true or is it not true? If you're pushing down on the back of someone's neck, that is absolutely the case. You could kill someone like that.
I think that's
What's not the argument that you're trying to make?
That's like
I've
that
never heard
is
of
sorry.
death
There's
with
a
full Nelson.
I think I'm about to die of a
why-
bad take.
yeah.
Charge Doobie
there's
with
a wild
manslaughter.
difference. I'm sure. I'm
Classic,
sure. Look,
dog
Doobie,
brain.
I'm sure you can find me an example of some person dying from that. Like I've never heard of this, but I'm sure you can find some person dying from that. But there is a difference in the action of restricting a person's airway and blood flow than like holding their neck that way, right?
Hey,
Directly on their neck. Come on, like.
Prawn,
Please
can
be
I
serious
get? I
here.
want to ask for.
Yeah, hold on. Wait,
I want
I'd like to-
Spartacus's expertise real quick. Just real quick. I want just to help clarify Doobie's response real quick. So, Sprout, you've been in the military and you've learned these chokeholds, right? Like,
Yes.
You know. Okay. So when you're in training and you're being taught to do this chokehold, are you given any training on what to do when someone comes to after you've choked them out?
Yes.
Like, are you trained on, oh, hey, this person might struggle because you've just knocked them out? Like, is that like what goes into that part of the training? Just out of curiosity.
During that part, I'm
Like, what
gonna
do they
give it
tell
to you.
you?
I'm gonna give it to you. The military is a lethal force. We're taught to be lethal.
I said that.
If it's not a lethal situation where we're not supposed to use lethal force, basically we let go, and then if they keep the shit up, you tighten it again. That's essentially what happens.
So you're never
But
taught
you
like
kill
what
them.
to do when. So you're basically taught to just keep
If
doing.
you're by yourself, that's what it is. But you're only really taught that if you're by yourself.
Because
So
any
you
other
kept doing
situation,
it.
you shouldn't have did it anyway. You shouldn't have gotten to the situation. If you got in there in the situation, like you need to live. So it's like they're not teaching you how to like, use your words and talk it out. They're like, take this
Yeah,
F out.
because
Well,
it's
right.
they're not dealing with like stopping civilians, like protecting civilians.
Like if
from
I'm in the
themselves and
situation
from
where I
others.
need to use a chokehold, then in the military, then it's probably yank the shit till the guy dies, because it's probably your life or his. So
Yeah.
like that's the honesty of it, and the military is a lethal force.
So I want to go back to
And the
Doobie.
Marines are probably worse.
Fuck, I forget what the question I asked you, Doobie, but like, oh yeah, that he can switch to another hold. Right, there are more than one hold that you can employ on a person, right? And he can even stay in a similar position. Simply let go, just let go of the neck. Simple as that. Correct?
Yeah, he could, but I think that would put him and the others at increased risk. So
Yeah, no, exactly. Is that? But
I don't think he has any obligation to do that.
But he put himself at increased risk from intervening in this situation. He put himself at increased risk. He absolutely did. Holy shit! Of course he did. He escalated the situation.
The escalation was on the homeless dude's side, right? So he chose to escalate. He chose to start the altercation. So people had to respond, and in getting involved, yes,
You
they
didn't
put
assault
themselves.
anyone.
Please, I said start the altercation. I didn't say assault.
Could have assaulted
No, I
somebody.
do think that what he did could be considered an assault, of course. So he started the altercation, right? So yes, in getting involved, they put themselves at increased risk, and I think that given that he started the altercation and he's the at fault party here, and he's the one making the threats, I don't think they have any obligation to put themselves at further risk to make sure that he's comfortable, right? So if you look at the video, and I know in Prime, and Prime, I know that you haven't seen Prime. I know that you haven't seen the video yet. He's not fucking choking him through the entire thing, right? They're holding him, and the guy on top is talking to him and trying to calm him down.
The video starts with him choking him out.
Please stop. So the guy on top is talking to him, trying to calm him down. So it's not like he's just shut the fuck up. No, he's not. So the guy that is on top is talking to him, trying to calm him down. They're not just choking him through the entire video. So I would agree with you. It's reasonable to assume that if you choke somebody for like minutes on end, you might kill them. But it doesn't seem like that's even what was happening, right? So the full video that we have is like 3 minutes and 38 seconds, I think. And he is not applying a full choke throughout the entire video.
Sure, but he doesn't
In
have
fact,
to
through most of
apparently
the
to
video,
kill
he
him.
isn't.
Fair enough. Yeah,
In fact,
but
wait. Through most of the video, he isn't. And when they realize that he's no longer fighting back and that he's unconscious, they let go. Right.
Yeah,
So
when he was clearly dead, they figured,
so if you're
okay,
gonna say they just didn't give a fuck about this guy's well-being, all they care.
I didn't say. I want to say that. I didn't say any of that.
Then
I didn't
what's the
say
claim?
any of that part.
So if you're saying, yeah, hey, they did a thing. No, I don't think it's negligent at all. What's negligent about this? So the fact that he died, it doesn't mean that it's negligent.
They never went to any de-escalation.
So I think this is manslaughter. I never said that like, this is murder, that he intentionally did this. I didn't say that at all. Right? I want to be very clear. I'm saying that this is manslaughter.
That might have been
and
my
that's
fault. I think I'm the one that brought up intentional homicide, so that might have been my fault. So I
Sure,
apologize.
sure, that's fine, no problem.
Sure.
But like, so I'm not doing that. Okay. I'm saying that his actions, he should have known that his actions would have led to this person's death. And I don't have the full context or on even seeing this piece of video or
Well,
like
so Prime,
seeing
let me
the
ask you
whole
this question.
thing. But yeah,
So this idea, he should have known that his actions could have led to his death, right? So that idea. So I posted multiple videos in chat earlier. I'm sure that you haven't watched them, but they're just like videos of like self-defense situations where someone's being attacked or someone else is being attacked. Somebody jumped in and choked them to pull them away. So in those situations, if the person being choked and pulled away, who was the attacker, was the aggressor, had died, do you think it'd be reasonable to charge the person who did that?
Is being attacked,
so
or if someone is watching someone else get attacked.
so there's an ongoing
So
fight.
yeah, someone else is
foot-
watching someone being attacked, right? And someone else gets involved, wraps their arms around the person's neck to yank them away. If when that happens, the person who was the aggressor, who was attacking, dies because they've had their like neck yanked and maybe their throat gets crushed or something, do you think it'd be reasonable to charge the person who intervened with murder or manslaughter?
No.
Depending.
I think so.
the-
I think depending on the case, yeah,
If,
absolutely.
if there's an active
depending, yeah.
assault,
You're
no.
taking on an extra risk. Like we're just not saying people shouldn't.
Yeah, I
do
think
good
that's
things, or
silly.
We're not saying intentional. And then
Active
intentional,
battery.
Like, also, the last video you posted, like I said, he definitely went through with the arm. He didn't put all his pressure on his neck.
I mean,
he
if you
hanged
like
underneath his armpit and locked around it, which is how you're actually supposed to.
Yeah, he looked locked in, bro.
Wait, the last video I posted, what video are you talking about?
The one with the guy who was saving the girl in the Walmart or whatever.
Wait, hold on. If you see the guy who actually pulled him away, he literally like yanks him by the neck with his arm. Like, what are you talking about?
Yes,
okay, but like
he-
even we're talking about like MMA, like
Okay,
like
hold on.
chokeholds
So Bam,
like
so
that
Bam.
are like illegal.
Okay, so Bam,
The police don't even let you do
stop.
that.
So Bam, in that situation,
You know
if the
that,
guy
right?
if the guy who was sexually assaulting a girl in Walmart had died when the guy applied a correct
Wow,
choke
what
and,
a good
yanked him,
appeal to-
please stop. Pulled off like a correct choke and yanked him away. If his neck had broken when that happened, do you think that guy should be charged with manslaughter?
we can't. This is not the same situation.
Please stop.
No,
Please
no,
stop. I'm
not-
asking
only
Bam a
answer that.
question.
No, I think there would absolutely be a case for sure. I know
For
now
manslaughter?
Now the specifics
I
of
think
it, like I said, I think it's okay to place charges
just-
and like go to court
It's
for
not,
related.
it's
to
not
that.
the same situation. It's
No,
not
I
fucking
think this
agree.
creates a
No,
culture
I
where people are
legitimately-
afraid to intervene to help each
But
other.
why
Like,
are we
Holy
afraid
shit.
the idea that if you do something that kills someone, there can be charges pressed. There can be an investigation.
I
Like,
think what this creates is a culture in which people are afraid to intervene when someone's being hurt, when someone's
People
being
probably
raped or
should
Is there any
attacked,
proof of
etc.
that? Is
I
there
think
any
they
proof
should
of that?
intervene. Wait,
No,
so
okay,
Bam,
people
so
probably
Bam, if
shouldn't.
you're walking by an alley and you see some kid getting raped in that alley, you're saying you shouldn't intervene? You should just
No,
call the cops and
like,
walk away?
Dude,
Wait,
it's
should you
not
keep
a
calm or
rape
Probably
case.
should you
shouldn't. Is that what you
intervene?
said? No, you
Dude,
said you
you
probably
just
shouldn't.
you're just creating a story and a dialogue
trying-
that has nothing
okay,
to do with the
okay,
situation.
Well, yeah,
Madeline,
even
there was
playing
no
with,
rape on the train.
whoa,
Madeline, don't
playing-
get involved,
even
okay?
playing with
I'm
your
asking-
story,
Yeah,
though.
because
I'm asking
I'm
Bam-
cutting your shit.
Okay.
All
Let
professional.
GB ask this question. And Nico, I see your hand.
Okay, because my fear here is that what you're doing is creating a culture where people see something bad happening to a person and they do not intervene and they just let it.
Has
bad
it
thing
ever
happen,
happened?
Right? Yes,
No.
absolutely. That's
no,
happening. So Bam,
I'm
Bam,
answering you.
why?
legitimately. I'm
Yeah, I
asking
understand. I understand. So I'm gonna answer the question again because maybe they didn't hear it, right? So you're walking by an alley, you see a kid getting raped in that alley, right? You could potentially intervene to stop this.
Sure.
Do you think that you shouldn't intervene?
Sure, I feel like you can say something. I feel like you should call the police, but I don't. It's probably bad for society when we create like vigilante justice, where you're running in for a situation you don't.
You shouldn't be
understand.
like killing him.
Like I just like and that's okay. Like if someone wants to take on that risk, cool for them. But if you end up doing something that hurts you or hurts the other person,
Okay,
there
but
can be an investigation of that. Absolutely.
No,
if I-
if
so if I
someone,
catch a dude raping
if
a
I
kid-
walk in,
If I catch a dude raping a kid and I punch him in the head and he dies, I should be charged with manslaughter? Like
Well,
that's
you'd be
the
defending
society that
somebody
you
who's
want?
currently you would be
change the
defending
house,
someone who's
now you're,
currently
like, in
getting
your house.
assaulted by law standards. You would not be considered a.
The difference is there was an active battery happening. in
Whoa.
Walmart. This is not an active battery.
Okay, you're still
I got
echoing.
him. I got him. You I got unmuted. And
All right, you're
streamed up.
good.
I
You're
got
good.
you.
You're good.
Go
You're
ahead.
good. Echo.
But yeah, I think that you walking in.
No, sorry.
someone in
Go
your,
ahead.
like,
No,
home-
I
No.
go finish this point.
Oh,
Oh
sorry.
yeah, the difference is there was an active battery going on at Walmart. So like I said before, if your life is in danger or someone's life is in danger, imminent danger, then you're authorized to use deadly force. But what the courts have said is that absent that, you're not authorized to use it, at least unless it's like a weird stand your ground state, which New York definitely isn't.
Yeah, but what if the deadly force isn't intentional? It's just you're gonna punch him to stop the situation, to get him off the kid, and he dies. Do you think that they should be charged?
Well, hold on. But I'm just addressing.
That's what the legal system is.
I'm just addressing the claim that this is like the Walmart situation, and what the differentiator between those situations is. Like, you can say that that this is not justified on the train, and that not become a precedent for things that are happening, like at the Walmart situation. One would not be the precedent for the other, because there's the differentiator of what authorizes deadly force. Now, the question as to whether or not this actually was a deadly force because it wasn't intended to be so is a different question. But to answer that question, I would say that's what makes it negligence, or in terms of New York law, which I sent you guys through the group chat, says that it only needs to be reckless. And the definition of recklessness, something that that Lactoid can speak to, really has to do with whether or not it's reasonable for you to know that death might be an outcome based on what it is that you're doing.
So yeah,
good point.
I'm glad you clarified part of that, right? Because obviously, if he intended to kill the person with a chokehold, it's a whole different story. And under New York law, he's got a much harder case. Recklessness, generally defined, is just you're doing an activity that you know is very risky, and the risk you're creating is an unreasonable one, and that's the reckless activity. And then if some harm comes from that, well, then reckless homicide, etc. Drunk driving is probably one of the most clear examples, right? You're at 0.4. You should know that driving at 0.4 is dangerous activity. You could kill somebody, and then you wind up killing somebody. A manslaughter. But again, if you're acting in self-defense, or if the force that you're applying is not unreasonable, it's not what some other person would do given that situation, then it's not reckless, right? If you're driving sober and somebody runs out in front of your car, that wasn't reckless just because you hit them. You weren't being unreasonable when you were driving. I actually had a self-defense case where one guy was jumping up, and this was a civil claim that came from it, so it wasn't criminal. But one guy was jumping up in front of somebody else and getting in their face, and the other dude just fucking decked him, and a lawsuit happened, and it was ruled self-defense.
Cases of voluntary manslaughter include extreme assault or battery upon the defendant, mutual combat, defendant's illegal arrest or injury or abuse to a relative or to a close relative of defendant. So it's kind of it's the idea of if do be example of you see something going on. Let's say you see someone saying I'm gonna F you up, and I guess you combine Lactoids, you're in your car, and you jump on the sidewalk to hit them. I think that there's you did that with a level of intention, and maybe you were trying to defend them. But I think if that person died, just because you were trying to be a hero doesn't prevent you from saying that oh, okay, there could be criminal charges.
It depends on the conduct, right? If I pull over and I see a guy beating up a woman, I could just get out of the car, and if he's still doing it, and I'm yelling at him and he's still doing it, I could pull out my gun and shoot him, and that would be legal, right?
You don't even have to yell at him. You don't even have to yell at him. Yeah, if you see someone beating the absolute shit out of somebody else, and it's obviously a felony, right? Then you don't need to do a yell as a warning.
At what point is there some responsibility for the perpetrator, right? At some point, do they have to take into account that, hey, my actions right now might lead to somebody killing me in self-defense, might lead to somebody thinking that I'm such a threat to them, they might kill me.
Oh, yeah.
Why is there no responsibility?
He probably should have been arrested if the police came. He probably definitely had some responsibility not to die.
He wasn't assaulting anybody.
Wait, hold on.
Well, he could have been assaulted. Threat of death is technically assault.
No.
Wait, hold on.
There's assault and battery.
I've been on multiple panels with some of you guys here, okay? And I don't think any of you guys have said this to me.
Threats can be assault.
But I've been on multiple Prime panels where we've talked about using the N-word around Black people, right? Or just in general, but around Black people specifically. And I've had multiple people tell me, hey, yeah, use the word around a Black person, and they just punch you in the face. They'll beat the shit out of you. Right? They're going to attack you, and that's your fault. fuck around and find out. So why in that situation should I just know that, hey, me saying this, it might lead to me getting attacked, and that's my fault? But this dude saying, hey, yeah,
Was
I don't
he
give a
calling
fuck
you
what
racial
happens.
slurs?
No, wait.
No,
I didn't.
wait a minute.
Was he
this dude
calling
saying,
you
hey, I don't
racial
give a fuck what
slurs?
happens. I'm gonna die. I don't give a fuck if I die, etc., etc. He has no responsibility
Sure,
for what
I
that
know,
Yeah,
we're
if
not
my
saying
mother
that.
died, I would freak out
agree
the
with
same
you.
way.
If those black dudes
not
killed
publicly.
that white guy,
But we're not.
or did he deserve it?
We're not
Is there no
saying
criminal
that he doesn't have responsibility. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that there is some responsibility on the motherfucker who killed the man. That's all we're saying. You're adding all these weird features to the story that nobody is actually adding.
I'm testing what you say your principles are. They don't make fucking sense at all.
But
saying,
they do though.
We
I'm
don't
saying
want
that- I'm saying
people.
that if you
Does
kill
he
them,
deserve to have died because
yeah,
he was
you say
having
the
like a
N-word,
mental
or
You want
breakdown?
people to sit by and watch someone be raped to
Right,
death.
you're
Because,
making
if they get
up.
involved or
That
hurt
didn't
somebody,
happen, you
just
psycho.
do that because it just might escalate too far.
You're just
bring
making
it to
shit
worse
up,
murder.
dude. That's not what we're saying at all.
he can't engage with the actual situation because
No, he's just making up.
So Madeline, what would the proper response have been, right? So he comes onto the train, says he doesn't care if he dies, he's threatening people, making people feel like they're threatened their
Really
life.
easy, actually.
What's
Instead
the
of doing
proper
this,
response?
you could do this.
Or wait, even better. I'm going to even walk the line. Let's say you've choked them out for a little while, and then it turns out you've got two friends helping you. You stop choking them out.
It's fairly. I mean, it's so like it. Let's just be honest. What he should have done is he should have gotten the guy on his stomach, and he should have taken both his arms because there is 3 people there. They could have done this. I think the adrenaline was too much. I don't think this was like intentionally not doing this, but to properly do this, he should have put the guy on his back. Put the guy on his stomach, grabbed his arms, and lifted his arms up to where his shoulders are pressed, or his shoulders are pressed into his ground. He would have no movement if his arms are back and like pushed like above his head. There would be no movement for his chest. There'd be no movement for his arms. The only thing he might be able to do is move his legs. So someone gets his legs while 2 other people.
Sit on him.
Or just sit on him and do that. Yeah.
Oh, don't sit on him.
And to add to Sprout's point, like Sprout, you know what they could have done, and you were trained to know what they could do, and presumably the Marine that was doing the chokehold was also trained in a similar manner.
Wait, stop. No one knows. So wait, stop. No one knows what you do with adrenaline. No one knows what you would do this type of situation until you're in the situation.
Besides the Marine, the trained Marine doesn't. You're telling me the trained Marine doesn't know what to do with adrenaline.
But they're put in like war situations.
Getting to be a Marine is a very long process, dude.
That's what muscle
you
memory
didn't
is.
count them that much. I respect.
No, what I'm stating is even Marines in war, and Marines will tell you this. You don't know what's going to happen when you have your first firefight because you don't know what's going to happen when the adrenaline hits.
Right. Well, no, it's not that though. Like that's Sprout has a very good point.
To handle someone having a mental breakdown. That's not that. Like I think people keep overestimating what Marines are trained to do. They're not police officers.
But he knows how strong he is and what he's going to cause.
Well, my point here when I was asking Sprout this
with the chokehold.
I don't think
go ahead, and then I'll hear from Doobie.
My point was to like kind of figure out like what are reasonable expectations for someone who's been trained like to be in that situation, right? So like I understand that like when the adrenaline's pumping, you don't know what you're actually gonna do when you're in a situation that's fucked up.
Sure, of course.
Absolutely understand that. Like it makes perfect sense to me because like the question is at what point, like I guess like. We know they fucked up because he killed the guy. Like that's like without question. There's like a fuck up here. Like he did something wrong.
No, that doesn't.
You don't.
Well, no,
know that for sure.
Well, no, like something went wrong.
So you wait, you're gonna say that he should have died?
No, I wasn't gonna say that he should have died.
No,
he chose to escalate.
Anyone disagreeing with you is gonna say that he should have died.
His death could have like been the result of reasonable action, right? It's weird because you guys have this weird like you want your cake and eat it too. Yeah, with all of his training, he's way more trained and knowledgeable about this than any of us. He should know.
No, I'm saying
the person who has all the training did this. So how do you know enough to criticize that?
Well, no, I'm not.
No, because he should know how to kill somebody.
The thing is, Marines aren't trained in like de-escalation techniques.
Killing people?
No, stop.
So then he knew that he was gonna kill him.
Can you stop? Thank
I'm not
you.
talking.
So Marines aren't trained in like de-escalation techniques. Marines are trained in how to use physical force. Marines are a very lethal force. And in this situation, honestly, this is what would be expected. If a Marine is trying to stop a situation, I don't find this outside the norm, given the level of adrenaline that
should kill somebody.
No, stop. Thank you. Given the level of adrenaline that he had, probably running through his veins at that point in time, I don't find this outside the norm. I don't think he should have killed anybody, but at the same time, the Marines are a lethal force. Things that he would have been taught would have leaned more towards lethality than the police force. The police force is all about de-escalation. The police force he didn't know that. That's you're implying intent where there's not intent. You're not implying it. You're implying intent where there's not intent.
Okay, what she's simply saying, what she's simply saying is that like the techniques that he's using, you just said that their techniques are for lethality. Okay, fair enough. Well, then that means that the techniques he knows the techniques he's using are lethal.
That's not true.
So that's basically
that's not true. He's not. He doesn't know that in that phrase, in that time and point, he's not thinking about. Well, I'm a Marine. I wasn't in the police force, so maybe my actions are probably more lethal than I want them to be.
No. Okay, all right. Sorry, I'll have to deal with that later. But Doobie, go ahead.
I just want to highlight Lactoid's point because I feel like you guys didn't really engage with it. So the idea is that he is a trained Marine. He should know better. He definitely knows about this. He has training in this. But this is how he handled it. And I, as the uneducated person, the ignorant person who hasn't been trained and doesn't know any better, I'm gonna say, hey, he should have done it another way.
That's not what I was.
Well, maybe just accept.
No, I agree with you.
You don't know better.
That wasn't even my fucking point, though.
He did the best that was possible in the situation.
You really don't have to engage with that because, like, it's like saying, well, this you're not an architect. How could you accuse this architect of doing something wrong? I mean, well, this house fell down, right, and it killed all the people inside of it. But you're not an architect. You can't say that, like, well, those the columns are.
Wait, do you not agree that his?
That's a perfect example. There could have been a sinkhole, right? There could have been plenty of reasons why a building collapsed.
No, I'm saying that, like, but like a layman can view like the work, right? They can see like the columns are falling apart. That there's all kinds of like architectural errors, right? But like this is saying that, but you can see the error, right? You can see the error. And then it's saying, well, you're not an expert, so of course you can't accuse this architect, right?
I'll give that example.
I am not an expert on using deadly force. That's true, correct. I'm not a Marine. That's true, but that doesn't mean I can't like use a reasonable person cannot look at that situation with a reasonable bit of knowledge about how the human body works and understand that something wrong with that's how experts will. And that's the case, then you literally can't even have jury trials. You really can't have jury trials because you have a bunch of non-experts.
Well, hold on. You're actually you're somewhat correct in that juries are not supposed to find matters of law. They only find matters of fact because we don't trust them because they're not experts. So juries don't determine whether or not somebody whether or not a law was necessarily broken. What they do is they determine whether or not did they do this? Did they intend to do this? Blah, 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 right? What are the factual questions? And then a judge, if they determine that legally the jury's decision just simply couldn't happen, a judge can be like, look, I'm using my expertise here. I'm overturning the whole jury. And they can do that.
Yeah, but
wait, so
go ahead.
It didn't really happen.
So as somebody who's been involved in fucking countless battlefields on multiple planets and dimensions of reality and many a great video game. I'm not gonna ask you again, right? So do you agree with what Lactoid said earlier, which is that his death could have been the result of what's that word you use, Lactoid? Reasonable action, right? So the architect might have built the house perfectly well, no hinges missing, no screws missing. He built it as well as any architect could have. But it fucks up anyway. So somehow, there's there's a sinkhole, and the house falls apart, right? And this couldn't have been predicted. So do you agree that that's the case? That he could have taken reasonable action, and the guy could have died?
His actions were.
Or is it a case do you agree with
we're not dealing with a
Mad Lad, where the fact that he died is an indication that something definitely went wrong?
Well, can I pose a question?
I want to. I'm trying to engage with this, but I don't think I think I'm missing it. But I'm going to try to engage with it, and then you can course correct me. So specifically what I was responding to is like when you point out to Lactoid, or point out about Lactoid that you can't criticize this person because of their expertise, right? Like, how could we as laymen criticize a person who has some level of expertise? So I'm saying that like a person within that within any situation who doesn't have that level of expertise can see an error that is happening, right? Like see an error and then criticize. Now that doesn't mean that they are correct, sure, but it's perfectly reasonable to criticize an architect if you think like if like you see like the walls about to fall down.
Can I give an example?
Okay, but here's my criticism, because I'm not leaning on his training, right? I'm not saying, oh, he was definitely trained the best, so he just knows better. What I'm saying is that this is a bad situation, and it could be that his training went out the fucking window when the shit hit the fan, right? Which happens sometimes. So you guys are leaning on the fact that he was trained. I'm saying, hey, this is a human being in a stressful situation. Maybe he did the wrong thing. Maybe he used the wrong chokehold or something in accordance with the trainer, acted out of line in accordance with the training. But we don't know that, and we can't say that. Oh, he's trained, so he should have known better. Definitely know that the guy was going to die. Definitely acted negligently or recklessly.
My argument, and then we can go to Corey. My argument doesn't rely on him needing to be a Marine, right? It's reliant on the chokehold in itself. You don't have to be a Marine to know that a chokehold is dangerous. That's why I said previously, like a reasonable person can understand that cutting off someone's airflow and blood flow is a dangerous act. That's what it relies on, not him necessarily being a Marine.
Okay, but Corey,
I
understand that, but
I want to springboard off of that, so to use that example and like this conversation about expertise, which is an important conversation, and also like to you, Lactoid, like to like Prime's point.
We can't talk about COVID here. Go ahead.
No. But so does it take like, I don't know who build a bridge engineer? Like if you look at old footage of like the early suspension bridges, does it require an expert to like assess that something went wrong there when the suspension bridges were like pretty much like crumbling, and you see them like pretty much like not acting as a bridge at all and like falling apart because like a strong gust of wind?
No, so what my specific criticism was like, it seems like they want, like, you guys want your cake and you want to eat it too, in the sense of, look, he was an expert, he should have known better, right? You're assuming that given the information that was available at the time and given his training, that he should have known better, but like
he's not an expert though.
But they're asserting
like
that
he's trained in this shit, but it's
but they're asserting that he is, right? They're saying like he is an expert, and given the information that he had at the time, like clearly he should have known better and done this. The problem with that is he was an expert. Like if he was an expert, then he was an expert, and he had the information that he had available at the time, and he did something differently than you. If there was an architect who was like, if I see a bridge fall down, my brain doesn't immediately go to like, well, the architect should have known better, until I find out what happened. Like, what the fuck precipitated the bridge falling down, right? What if there was a sinkhole where the architect just simply couldn't plan for it? What if, with plenty of bridge collapses happen this way, where the architect planned it fine and they put in a fucking nail wrong?
I specifically brought up suspension bridges for, like, I don't know if maybe you just haven't seen the footage, but that is a notorious case. Now, we like,
it could be that the architect planned it wrong, but I would want other architects to determine that.
Yeah, but there were some unforeseen things about suspension bridges as to why they happened. But like, so I think what I don't want to make Prime's point about them, but I think where I would come from is like, I would agree that, let's say the Marine has the training to be able to implement the force and maybe under some reasonableness know when to use force, hopefully. But then also at the same time, if they're trained as Spartacus brought up with deadly force, well then hopefully they're also trained in how to actually appropriately administer that.
Okay, they are. Okay, so one second, I need to make a clarification, because what I'm saying is being taken the wrong way.
No, we're not talking about what you're saying.
Marines are given training, and when I say training, like I'm going on the base assumption that this Marine went to boot camp, never went overseas, never received any additional combat training, received 27 hours of combat training in basic training, or boot camp is what Marines call it. In boot camp, 27 hours of hand-to-hand combat training. And the 10 weeks they're there, I think it's 10 weeks for Marines. But the 10 weeks they're there, 27 hours. One of those hours is based on one of those hours is focused on chokeholds. So like when I say they're trained with these methods, they are trained with these methods, but by no way are they experts, and by no way is this like some kind of like expertise that you get from the military. You don't get the expertise of like you're not an expert with 27 hours. Sorry.
I agree that he's not an expert, but we're rolling with the assumption that he is an expert because that's what they're asserting. Corey, Corey, I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you a question, Corey. My understanding is that you're in the medical field, roughly, or
so I'm in the STEM field. I'm not a medical doctor.
Okay, you're not a medical doctor, but you're. Let's say, I don't know. Let's say you in the STEM field, you synthesize some drug, and it winds up killing somebody. Okay. How would you feel if a layperson came to you and said, "Well, you're a STEM expert. You should know and not let these drugs have side effects that kill people."
That's the fuck. Like, it's just, you guys are.
What would you respond to that?
I'm not even trying to argue.
That's what the courts are for.
Trump, man. Like,
I'll attempt to answer at some point.
Yeah, a layperson, not an expert. A layperson came to you and said, "That's like you should know. You're a STEM. You should know this."
So your scenario is like, yeah, I synthesized something and someone ended up dying of the whatever
unforeseen side effect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the scenario that you outlined is more like drug dealing, because there's a whole reason why we have like trials and tests and all that stuff. So it's a little bit so yeah, if I'm synthesizing something in my basement and I'm administering it to like the public, I think that person has a reasonable claim to question my expertise, because I would be doing something pretty illicit at that point. But maybe not understanding your example.
But also, Corey would have a day in trial, right, to defend himself, and there would be experts brought in. It's not like, random people on Twitter get to be judge, jury, and executioner.
But that's not. Yeah,
when
sure.
They riot,
but
that's what they're doing.
Well, Lactoid wasn't really asking that, right? He was asking about like whether a layperson should, like, it makes sense that a layperson could say that Corey should have known better, right? That a layperson should be able to criticize you on that.
Yeah, I'll engage with that.
As a STEM person, you should have known better.
I'll engage with that, because like I can talk about synthesis, and so if they're able to like map out like the pathway of whatever I'm synthesizing with, as in like they're not just looking at, oh, someone took this drug and someone died. They say, oh, here's my recipe for synthesis. And if the person came in saying, hey, and they recognize something that is off, like they would have a justifiable claim, because like they're able to see, as opposed to like like they have more information. And
what if their video of the synthesis was only like a part of the overall synthesis?
Yes.
What about
that? I understood. I want to address that, please. So that is totally a fair point. That's why I agree with you in the beginning. We don't have all the facts, and there could be more stuff that comes out, and we are trying to assess something on limited information. I will absolutely grant that 1,000%.
Okay. I just want to throw this in here. Like, it's not even about lay people figuring this shit out. Like, I'm not saying that, like, Homeboy's a Marine and he should have executed everything perfectly. It's like, okay, so he's a Marine. I'm getting to figure out how much training he has, what the training actually means, and all this other stuff. I'm not presuming that, oh, man, he's definitely 1,000% guilty. It's up for it's up for the courts. It's up for the police to detain him and question him. And, like, the biggest problem I have with the situation right now, besides the fact that someone was killed on the subway, is the fact that there is no, like,
no charges
that have been filed. The person hasn't been detained. He was interviewed, and he's being trusted to return to the police station when charges are filed or whatnot. And like, I find that kind of problematic. Like that's probably the biggest thing. Is like, this man's automatically being trusted as like it's okay. I don't know, but like, it's not about the fact that like we're trying to persecute this guy for killing the motherfucker on the goddamn subway. Like, yes, he did something fucking wrong in the sense that he killed the man, but it doesn't mean that we are automatically assuming that he's guilty. It's something went really, really wrong. He's probably going to have charges filed against him. He should. And there should be consequences for the fact that he killed someone, even if it's accidental. That's my only point. I'm not trying to say that, holy shit, he's a superhero and he has to do everything perfectly.
Let's go to Doobie. And we'll probably wrap it up.
So we didn't really get a chance to touch on the other massive issue, which I think Matt kind of touched on just now, of the way that this is covered in the media, right? Presenting 10 or 15-year-old videos and pictures of him dancing around like Michael Jackson. Well, the reality is he was not that person anymore when this happened, right? It seems like he'd fallen far from that place.
Maybe he was.
That's problematic as fuck, right? I think that
because his mother was choked to death when he was 14.
Yeah, and well, shit happens. I was making a terrible joke, but I'm not gonna do it.
Do you think that matters?
Wait one second. But what I'm curious about is I've heard people, I think some of you on this panel, say that calling the police on a person having a mental episode, and especially a black person having a mental episode in the current state of American policing, is akin to a death sentence.
Really?
Please stop yelling. Is akin to a death sentence. You're calling in the execution squad on this guy.
Who is he talking
So
about?
I'm wondering, like, do you guys think it would have been wrong for them to even involve the police at all? Like, if all they'd done,
people are making those
is
fucking arguments to me. One person acting rational
No, it's
in the
not one
background.
person.
Not
It's
like
not one person.
someone being
It's
held
not
out by
one
3 fucking
person.
people.
Calm down, please. Calm down.
Like, it's different.
So I'm asking, well, Matt,
It's not
if you just
comparable.
if you contain throwing out.
I can't contain myself. You might have to
We could
call
do
the
this, right?
police.
So
or else
what
people
I'm
hold me
trying to
down.
ask you
I can't help it.
is if they hadn't, if
I
they
don't
had not,
wanna
if they had
die. I
not,
can't-
please
Let
stop.
Doobie ask a question.
So if there's a guy stomping around saying he doesn't care if he dies, blah blah, throwing whatever the fuck he was doing, he's having a mental episode. If they didn't get involved physically, if all they did was call the cops and say, "Hey, there's this fucking dude being crazy on the subway, saying he doesn't care if he dies, etc.," and he died, right? Because he was in the middle of an episode and the cops got there, thought he was a danger, and shot him. Do you think that that they would be in the wrong? That would be a bad thing to do? And do you think them taking that chance, or that the chance that them calling the police could lead to him dying, would make them would put them at fault somehow? Because that's, as you guys have said before, the police execution squads for mentally ill black people.
Who said that before? Who said that before?
I think Prime said that before specifically. Actually,
wait a minute.
I've heard you say that.
I'm literally begging
words in your mouth,
Please don't respond one word to what Doobie just said.
Doobie likes to put words in everyone's mouth.
Okay. So to be clear, you guys think that
you named your point, Doobie. Move on.
Calling the cops on a mentally ill black person having an episode. You think that there's no fault there whatsoever, right? There's nothing bad happening there.
So actually, I think that the next thing we need to talk about is actually related to the
the police that are hunting down black people in the streets and slaughtering them. It's totally fine. Just call them a mentally ill black people.
Can you put Doobie back in the stable, Prime?
I understand why you don't want to engage with that. It's difficult. I understand.
I'm talking. I actually think what's actually important is
Lily pad.
We didn't get to engage with it, but the idea of the like I said, I brought up earlier, instead of dealing with the actual issues on the bus, like the people in the not in the bus, the actual people in the train car that could have legitimate fears. It's actually doing something to address the homeless problem and the mental health problem, specifically in a lot of these major cities.
Yeah, he should have stayed in prison. He should have remained in jail after the 35th arrest.
The systemic question is interesting. Like, this guy had 40 incidents, several of which and Corey, you're right to correct me, not all 40 were violent, right, in terms of attacking somebody. But some of them were, in which, he punched a 67-year-old woman and kicked other men.
He's severely, I think he has a felony.
He's attacking people.
I think they felt.
He's literally attacking people. He's got 40 incidents. Why was
this
guy...
Republicans in budget cut the government and take away all our mental health services?
Why was this guy...
In New York?
Why was this guy in the subway? Maybe this is a condemnation
Absolutely.
of public transport.
No,
Wait, hold on. So in New York, in New York City, it's the Republicans' fault. They're not putting this guy in jail.
Because federal funding is not
fucking
available.
ridiculous.
Federal funding is not available.
That's ridiculous. There's been a massive push. There's been a massive push by lefties. There's been a massive push by lefties for cash to get rid of cash bail. To let people out of prison. This is the result of the policies that you guys pushed. He died because you didn't want to keep him in prison.
Who
I'm
put
sorry.
You had been
I am
advocating
sorry.
to let these
It
people out of
is
prison.
budget
He'd
cuts
be
to the
alive right
federal
now.
government
You're at
because the
fault.
federal
You died
government
because
is
of you.
responsible
I'm
at
sorry.
some level
He's
for
getting
funding
me.
all the
He
different
almost got me
states.
again. Don't do it, Mad Lad.
It's the truth.
We didn't
It's
engage
the
the first
truth.
time. We
I'm
just
done.
If you guys weren't constantly pushing, if you guys weren't constantly
Be
pushing
careful
to
with
let
that,
these
dude.
fuckers out of prison, if you guys weren't constantly pushing to let these fuckers out of
He's not
prison,
talking to a single
he
person
would
in
have
this
said
family.
he would have stood in prison.
I don't know who the F he's
Right?
talking to. He's
How,
talking to his
wait,
cross
what do you,
people.
okay, Bam, do you just never hear
He's
anybody
not
on
talking
this
to
panel or any
anyone
other
else in
like
this
Twitch
family
panel
right now.
ever talk about
No,
Cassius
because I
Bill
don't
and
care
the need
about
to
other
keep people
people
out
on
of
other
prison?
panels.
Oh God, if we keep them in prison, their lives are going to be ruined. So we got to let them out until the court date.
How many
blah, blah,
people are here right now? There's
blah.
one,
If
two,
they
three,
if
four,
they
five,
had if
six,
they had
seven.
remained
There's seven
if
other
they'd
people in
remained
this
in
panel.
prison.
Maybe
Okay,
he's
so
talking to
Those are the
Bam,
people you
empty
should talk
space.
to.
so Bam, are you in favor then? So Bam, are you in
I-
favor then of keeping him in prison? Would you have been in favor of keeping him in prison?
Yeah, he probably shouldn't have been on the streets to be able to do this.
At
No,
what point? So after arrest, 1,
I answered your
10, or
question.
15, 20, 30, like which arrest?
I don't know. It would depend
27,
on the
the
context of the
27th
specific
arrest.
arrest.
He was
It
a
doesn't
victim of
matter.
circumstance,
The
Doobie.
number of the arrests doesn't matter. If 39 of them were jaywalking, the specific context matters.
Wait, hold on. So if somebody's repeatedly having like misdemeanors, even if it's like
Yes, if
jaywalking,
somebody's
right? If he has, like,
repeatedly
30
jaywalking,
fucking-
no, they
hold on.
shouldn't
So if
be
he
in
has
jail for
30
life.
if he has like 30 jaywalking offenses, and jaywalking is actually not a small thing, right? So you're putting not just yourself at risk, but other drivers on the road. Please, other drivers on the road. You might cause an accident. It is
Right,
a
you
big
shouldn't
deal,
be in
right?
jail for life for jaywalking. No.
Which is why they
Death
don't let you
penalty.
do it.
Death
Right?
penalty for
So you
jaywalking.
submit at no
No, we
point
agree,
after
Aiko.
30 times of being arrested for jaywalking, at no point does he get like put into a jail like
No, he
for
doesn't.
like a
No,
year. or
you don't
something,
get to
like
go
2
to
years.
jail for life for jaywalking.
I didn't say life. I said
Well,
years.
what you don't engage
How
with
many
other
how many
people say,
times
so
you
I
get
don't have to engage with what you
how
say.
many times you get to like just break the law blatantly?
He shouldn't get the death
repeatedly,
penalty
to
for that.
demonstrate that you don't give a fuck about the laws that
He
govern our
shouldn't get the
society.
life penalty.
What
for-
about doing
for-
LSD in your closet?
You shouldn't. I don't know how many more times we can say it.
Yeah.
I
What?
want you to know that I love you this much. Someone called me Fat Lad in your chat, but then he gave you 200 bits. So I'm not timing him out.
Okay.
That's how much I love you.
Thank you so much.
Apparently, I'm cheap.
Wait,
thank
so how many
you,
times does somebody get to,
Status.
do like misdemeanors before you guys are okay with it? Like so
137
someone has like
jaywalking.
200,
27.
200 fucking
How many times does he
misdemeanors.
get to call you
250.
fat before you time
Keep
him
it
out?
going. Move it up.
I think that you guys just are refusing to engage with this because it's inconvenient to you.
Exactly.
Right?
No,
So
Okay, you
actually,
told me to do it, so
what
now
we're
I'm doing
this
it.
guy is my way more draconian version of justice. Okay, I would have kept him alive. You guys killed him.
Right. That's right.
Okay.
I actually
So-
agree with Doobie on this point. I mean, not with the hyperboles engaging in necessarily, but I do think that with the number of infractions that some of them were serious, like attacking that old lady. Like at some point, the criminal justice system should have done more to protect the public based on material offenses.
So
that
this
he
is what you just said, right? Is a separate topic
Yeah,
that I
agree.
want to bring up, especially if like we can get some bigger people on here. That'd be great. I mean, not that you guys are
Big enough
but
as
I'm-
is, because I'm Fat Lad.
well,
I'm
that's
Fat
true.
Lad. Fuck!
That's been
This is a
proven.
disaster. I'm never doing
someone
this
gives-
again.
If someone gives me money, then whatever their statement must be true.
Yeah.
So, but I,
I'm
wanna-
offended
him
because
out.
clearly I'm fatter than him, and I didn't
Fat.
get the
uh,
same
Fat.
epithet.
Oh, we should. Someone should correct that.
Yeah,
But
with 300
guys,
bits.
Fuck.
Oh,
Okay.
indeed.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's
Uh,
fine. I don't know
but
if-
in any case, oh fuck, shut up. Like this idea because someone else is talking about this online. I was watching a YouTube VOD, but like at what point, if there is repeated offenses, should like the law like increase the penalty? And I'm actually kind of split on this because I'm not actually sure where I land. I might be more punitive, like Lactoid is, or Doobie.
I would not put
right?
somebody in jail for jaywalking.
I
I want
think-
to make that
I-
clear.
No,
I
not
would.
jaywalking. not
After the
jaywalking.
fucking 20th one, I
think
would.
it's-
Maybe
I think it's-
like
I
50
think it's highly
million for
dependent-
jaywalking.
I think
I
it's
think-
highly dependent on the
I
situation.
put you in
it's
jail
highly
for like a
dependent on the
year if you
situation.
jaywalked 20 times.
But
Right.
basically, what guys are arguing for are 3 strikes laws, right? Like something similar to that, right? Or maybe like 3 strikes specifically with like a similar charge, right?
Yeah,
Like
in this
terms
case,
of
it was 40
vi-
strikes, but
a
yeah.
violent charge. So like if you have 3 assaults, right? On the 3rd one, then maybe we say like there might be a 4th,
Like a
So
mandatory
you get
5-year
extra
prison
time.
sentence or some shit. Like I
Yeah.
absolutely been for everything.
We should definitely discuss this. I think this will be a really fun topic, and yeah, it was something I've been thinking of. All right, so but we're gonna end this one here. We're gonna continue on to our open walk on path after this. We have more content for you, so stick around in case other good stuff is gonna happen. I'm gonna outro to all these great individuals, but we do have more content. And I'm kind of lost in my outro here. Like I'm all over the place. Consider subbing to the channel. That part's important. I remember the money part. Subbing
You
to
can
the
call me
channel.
fat for 300 bits.
There you go. There you go. Insults galore.
I'll untime him out
Can I
for
go
400
first just because I have
bits.
to do something like.
Okay, sure. Anyway, subs to the channel, give bits or give subs if you enjoyed this content so far. Help us out, help us continue on with this. If you like what we're doing, if you find yourself coming back here again and again, then consider supporting this channel so we can still be here for you to come back to. All right. And usually Amazon Prime says Prime Gaming. All right, so I'm going to give a outro to all these guys. We'll start with my man Bam.
I appreciate it. I think the topics were really interesting. I think the conversations interesting, but also frustrating. And sometimes a good way, sometimes not. I don't know. My name's Bam. I'll be on Twitter, tweet the truth sometimes, or on here. And yeah, that's all about me. Thanks for having me, Prime, forever, for real, always.
Thank you. All right. Next, to our friend Lactoid, who are really happy. Actually managed to make it. Didn't look like he was initially, but this panel would have been worse off without him. So thanks so much, friend.
Yeah. No. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
All right. So I really appreciate you having me on. Believe it or not, like the only window that's currently responding is StreamYards, and I can use Discord through talking, but I can't access it. So we've definitely timed this good because I'm worried that this might stop responding anytime now. It's time to get a new computer. Really appreciate you having me on, Prime, as always, and I really appreciate all of your patience with my technical issues. Like I said, I'm gonna get it resolved, but I really appreciate that. So thank you all for talking to me, as always. If you like what I had to say, you can find me at Lactoid TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. If you have any questions, please reach out to me on Discord.
Yeah, I mean, again, Lactoid, I was saying to Lactoid this in private, but he doesn't have to apologize. Usually he's like one of the first people here, right? We can't say that about everyone else on screen. Lactoid is extremely prompt, and always puts up a great fight, great participant. That's why you're one of the most valuable people here. Thanks so much, man. All right,
Canadians are always on time.
Indeed. It's in the blood. Corey will know. Corey, thanks for being here, friend. And this is a really good time.
Yeah, thank you so much. And what I would say to Lactoid is, given the circumstances of your computer, I think the universe is clearly saying that you're only meant to be on Prime panels, and that's it. I think what Bam brought up is I think a really good conversation. I think ideally should be had about I think obviously this is what occurred, many things to be discussed, and I think definitely one of them is how poorly we, let's say, treat trauma or understand trauma, as Aiko brought up, Jordan Neely, their mother was murdered at the age of 14, and their body was found in a suitcase, and they were placed in foster care. And from the reports that I'm reading, they were struggling with depression, schizophrenia, PTSD. And so I think there's a conversation to be had of arguably this person was set up for failure, and that we really
ironically strangled to death.
Yeah, and that we just don't take appropriate ways to rehabilitate people. Not that we perfectly know how, but I think that conversation should be had, and I would love to be a part of it if possible. But yeah, I think this is great as always. Great topics, definitely super spirited conversation, which I always appreciate. And yeah, thank you so much. Grateful to be here. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv, CoreyCampbell84, Twitter, Instagram, literally it's Corey Campbell, and Doobie, GigaChadLad, iCal Rich, Sprouticus, and Lactoid. Always a pleasure. And love you, Prime.
Thank you. Next we go to Sprouticus, a real American hero. Sprouticus, thanks so much, and thanks for bringing your knowledge to this, right? Because none of us have been in your position, have been through the military. So that really added a lot to this panel. Thanks so much.
Hey, not a problem. I wish I could have brought more. I was in the Marines and I never got deployed, so there's a lot of stuff that I don't know that other people do, but I tried to give what I had. But I enjoyed the conversation. I think that there's still not enough conclusive evidence to kind of like go either way here. It's highly dependent on what happens before the video. And the video is the only thing I can constantly rely on because it is an actual recording of what happened. And so I think that we should all like take a step back and let the police force do the police force, and hopefully we'll get more context as to what happened prior to this, and look forward to seeing that and make our decisions then. But I appreciate the conversation. Appreciate everybody's thoughts and opinions. You can find me at twitch.tv/thespraticus or twitter.com/thespraticus.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to Aiko. Aiko, thanks for jumping in, friend.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I agree. There's one of the things that was heartening to me was there's now an active homicide investigation going on. So even though the police did let him go, like it's I don't know if this was a decision that was made later because of public pressure or whatever, but there actually is an active homicide investigation going on, so that's helpful. Where I disagree a little bit with Sprout, what he said just a minute ago, was I'm not sure that what happened before did matter, because if he was subdued, then the level of threat at that point is different than whatever the level of threat was prior to that. So I don't know. I do know that, experts do need to get involved. If it does get to the court level, then, people who know a lot more than we do, like, can make a lot of these decisions. I just want to make sure that something like that happens instead of, just deciding like to let it go.
Okay. We'll go to our friend Matt. Oh, God. Mad Latin. Thank you so much. Like, we've missed you a lot. I've missed you. You're a great participant. You're very passionate, which is, it's great. Yeah, like I love to see it, honestly. So thank you, Mad Latin, for reminding me of how amazing you are.
Reminding you of how amazing I am. Yeah, Bad Latin. You can find me on GigaChat Latin, twitch.tv. I stream extremely infrequently. Usually it's chess stuff. But I might do more things. We'll see. I literally did actually work for the last 30 days straight. So my stream time is a little limited right now. But I'm hoping to do more and show up to more of these things. I'm not fat. Let me take that back.
I understand.
Okay, I'm a little fat. That's fine. I need to work on this. It's fine. I'll just do. Maybe I'll go to the gym. Maybe I'll go for a walk. Put down those. What are those things that you eat that are from called? Are they Twinkies? I'll put down the Twinkies. Yeah. No, so I'll try to be around more often. And be as ridiculous as I can be, et cetera, et cetera. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else I need to plug? I feel like I have something to plug. I have a book. You can buy my book. It's we're doing a second edition soon, actually. That's one of the things I'm working on. End of the summer, if you're into chess and stuff. Also, I teach chess lessons. If you guys want to do chess lessons. Yeah, that's it.
All right, and last but not least, our Dark Lord and Savior, Doobie. This has been an explosive conversation. I'm glad you came through because it went a bit great without you. Thanks so much, friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I know that people were kind of like concerned about the quote unquote petty jaywalking position, where I think that people should get put in jail for jaywalking. I think that I'd implore you guys to watch the TV show Northwoods Law or Texas Law or Louisiana Law, which follows like the Department of like Fish and Game, and they chase people for weeks to figure out who ran over a fucking beaver, or hey, there's a deer was shot in the woods over there. Was it shot from the road or was it shot from 50 feet off the road? They will investigate this for fucking weeks. Right, to give them like a $200 fine at the end of it. So I think that it's important when you have laws, it's important to enforce those laws, right? And it's not a small thing when people jaywalk. I think you guys are just retarded.
But it is a small thing when someone gets choked out. What?
So
Is that your position,
I'm
right?
Doobie. Yeah, sometimes people do need to be choked out, and sometimes it's okay if they die. So I'm Doobie. I hop around the politics server on Discord, discord.gg/politics.
Oh shit, that's right.
I think today, or not today, this month we have an AMA with Brett Johnson, the internet godfather, quote unquote, according to the Secret Service, who founded the first cybercrime organization, hacker crew thing. It's once on the FBI's most wanted list. So interesting guy. He'll be there on the 27th if you're interested.
Shout out to Bam and Nina for being here previously as well. Okay. All right. So we are going to continue on to open walk on panel. Anyone here can join us. But if not, that's okay. Thanks for spending your time, your energy, your knowledge, and your passion, my community. They appreciate you so much as I do. Have a good one. Goodbye.
Pleasure.
Prime, before you go,
Yep.
Are you able to disconnect me from the Discord because I can't click on it?
Sure.
No, I got it. I'm a mod. I can do this. I have to do my job. It's been
Okay, yeah. Just I don't ban me. Just disconnect me because I literally
Yeah.
can't click on it. And also, I don't know. Are you able to disconnect me from StreamYards too?
Did you just reset
yeah.
your computer?
Yeah, I could just.
Well,
I can
actually,
do
don't
that.
disconnect me from StreamYards yet. Just disconnect me from Discord.
Okay.
Discord? Okay.
Never mind.
Ready? 3, 2, goodbye.
Thank you. Am I removed? I think I'm removed. Yeah, okay, I'm removed. Okay, perfect. Well, Nina and Bam had to go. So really appreciate you guys all sticking through these incredible technical issues. Holy crap, I literally can't. It's the weirdest. I'm gonna see if I can system restore. It's the weirdest error I've ever seen. I literally, it's awful. I can't click on anything. I can see Rothbard, Jesus, what's wrong with your PC? I can see that come up, and I can see the emotes, and I can see myself, and I can click between windows, but I can't click on search bars. I can't click on commands. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna fix my computer first of all, so next time this doesn't happen. And then what's going to happen is we're going to see you guys later, either with a restored computer or a new computer, because this is ridiculous. But I really appreciate you guys for sticking through this trying time. I don't know if I can raid out to Prime because I can't click on anything. So hold on one second. I'm gonna try to Control-Alt-Delete. So this might. Oh, hold on. Okay, this might destroy this might just cancel the stream. So if it goes away, really appreciate all you guys again. Thank you all for the bits and subs. I'm going to control. Let's see what happens. Here we go. Control. Oh, okay. I cannot click on. Okay, guys. Well, I can't click on Task Manager. No. I'm not gonna lie, this is the lamest thing ever. I can't right click. Ooh, I can click on File Explorer. That's the one that, I can click on it. I can't move it. Okay, we're just gonna go ahead and restart. So we're not gonna be able to raid out, guys. I'm very sorry. I know that makes it convenient for you guys just to get right into it. If you guys have another stream that you want to get into, please feel free. Otherwise, go ahead and give Prime, go to Prime's channel, let him know, hey, Lactoid sent us, but he can't click on the message bar. I'm gonna be just forcibly killing OBS. So Really appreciate you guys. If this doesn't, then I'm gonna sound like an idiot. Yeah, it's not ending OBS. Okay. Oh. I cannot click on the start bar. Okay. I'm going to manually turn off my computer now with the button of death. So we're going to shut everything off and system restore. Thank you guys so much for all of your support, constant support. Bye. Oh my fucking god. Oh my. Actually, I'm going to open this up on my phone. I want to see what happens if I shut down manually. Can you guys hear me okay? Are you able to hear me? I'm just, if you're not, I mean, you guys are still sticking around, so I'm assuming so. Okay, my phone works. Yeah. Okay, you guys can hear me. I literally can't click on anything. I can see, besides going between windows. I literally, it's like nothing. I can't even click on Task Manager. I open Task Manager and I can't. Yeah, I'm gonna have to just manually shut down. So, yeah, love you guys. Catch you later. Hit Windows key. Nope, nothing happens when I hit Windows key. Well, if you guys are gonna like walk me through troubleshooting, maybe I want to stay. No, I feel like I can just restart and then system restore. That's the best solution. And if system restore doesn't work, well, we're just fucked. All right, bye guys. Bye bye.